Good afternoon. Welcome to Galactic Earth Fusion. Mission Upgrade, the show that discusses the normal, the paranormal, the natural, the supernatural, the organic to know the inorganic, the weird, the wonderful, all things outrageous, strange, upbeat, and cutting edge. Broadcasting from Black Mountain, North Carolina, land of the sky. I'm Missy Hill, joined by Matthew Mournian. I hope I'm getting your name right.
You do, yeah, you got it. Yeah, thank
And
you.
this is going to be a fun, dynamic show. I have no idea where this is going to go, but because of the progressively sinful content of the information today, I figured I better burn some frankincense and myrrh just
Oh,
because
really? Do we have sinful content?
we might. I don't know
Oh,
if we're going
really?
to be picking on different things in the Matrix, because if we're leaving the Matrix, we have to fully understand what it is that we're leaving and why we're leaving it. And I have
Okay.
my
Okay.
tuning fork just to help clear everybody.
Beautiful. Okay, cool.
Yeah, because the first thing I want to share is this. This came when today because somebody bought this for somebody, and I said I have to borrow that at least for this show.
Because people do suck. Oh, they do. It's okay.
So who can relate to this? All you cat lovers can probably relate to that.
Have you
Yeah.
seen that new AI cat meme? Well, actually, it's like every animal is being inserted now by the AI, but there's this new meme that came out this week that's where it's like this cat and he's holding the gun, like, and he's like just, like sitting there as this song plays, and he's like he's about to cry, as this song plays, and he's like holding the gun at somebody. You're gonna find it now. It's gonna show up on your algorithm. The
It
way
will.
I'm describing it sounds like huh, but when you see it, you'll be like, oh my god, that's all what
Oh my God, that's a
you'll
hoot.
see it. It's literally priceless. Somebody in the chat knows. Somebody in the chat has seen the meme where the cat is holding the gun right now and he's about to cry. Let us know. Probably everyone's like, no, Matthew, we don't go that far into the bowels of the interweb. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were
So how
saying.
are you doing today?
I feel pretty good. We just went to one of the worst breakfast restaurants I've ever been to since I moved to Texas. It was literally horrible. And that's how you know when you're getting old, because now I'm suddenly like offended by bad food, you know what I mean? Whereas like in my 30s and like, earlier I didn't give a shit, I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. But nowadays I'm like, dude, I get like genuinely offended. It was just really bad. But aside from that, things are going pretty
Was
good.
it where in Texas are you? Was it like a
Oh,
Mexican breakfast or like
I'm in
Tex-Mex?
Austin. I'm in Austin, which is like home to every type of trendy food there is, which is one of the reasons why I really enjoy it. But it was one of those, and for those of you guys that are watching, you're gonna understand this sort of. It's more of a phenotype of like this ultra liberal, super easily offended, hyper fragile young person hangout where everyone has a politically correct tattoo and a floppy sort of denim hat with an oversized shirt. You know what I mean? And there's like a tattoo, like a really little one, like right here on like everyone. And so, you just walk in the room and you're like, okay. You know what I mean? And then, we get served this is how boring, my like current like world is. And then you get served this thing that's like eggs and like various stuff, but it was like it came out of the fridge. And I was like, wait, I realized, was this supposed to be chilled? And I still don't know to this very moment, where I was like, was that the intention? Because it felt like you pulled it out of the fridge. I'm describing a random moment of my day that led up to this moment, but somebody out there knows that feeling. And I think as we get older, you're gonna know it too. I have a feeling like or maybe you don't. Do you have a lot of
Uh,
Taurus like energy in you?
oh well, this area has a lot of woke mind virus. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we have the same. Yeah,
I'm in
yeah.
Asheville, North Carolina, so you can imagine how this is. I mean, when you had 40 something white women deciding to get up and either take their top off or protest against like the BLM and all this weirdness about the obelisk. I mean, what do they have to do with history from the Vance Monument? Why do they care? I mean,
Right.
why do they care? What kind of weird bandwagon? But that's what Asheville is. There's a slogan that says "Keep Asheville Weird," and I
Yeah.
wish it would just be weird without political nonsense. You
I
know?
feel you. I kind of like that, the political nonsense. I know that's it doesn't sound cool, but
No,
for
but I don't
some
like it.
reason I'm into it. Like I'm okay with watching the weird dichotomy of like strange like personalities, like clashing in this world. Me and Honora were present during the riots in Los Angeles a few years back, and I got to be there in the midst of the actual riot, and it was amazing experience. But anyway, you were
But
saying,
back to food, the reason
yeah,
I don't particularly like it in the town because it's killed the infrastructure. And what it's
yeah,
done is, when you pay somebody to throw bricks and shut the little guy down during a pandemic, then big business comes in, buys everything out, and Cisco delivers all of it. So there isn't any
mhm,
real food. The price of food has gone up. The great restaurants, they're pretty much non-existent. So I don't even eat out anymore. I decide pretty much save my vacations for
that's
when I
cool.
go on a cruise because I don't find the food that appetizing. And
I
I know
feel
you're a
you.
foodie because you get into these food holidays, but let's not.
I guess I am. Whoa, no, I just now tied that all together. That's weird. That's a sign. I was told that my Taurus rising would show up later on in life. And as I go later on, I'm like, it does. It does show up. Eric totally gets it though. That's literally what I was saying an hour ago. I was like, you know what? I could have just made this at home. you know. But anyway, I hear the food at the data centers is going to be really good. They have like
Really?
yeah, oh yeah, they have like a McDonald's and a Chipotle run entirely by these AI bots that they will bring in. And the AI bots are citizens, so they have rights. So if you complain and talk shit to them, they're not going to take it kindly. But yeah, there's going to be
And they'll be serving
yeah.
Soylent Green, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's not called Soylent Green yet. They're not technically they can't use that name just because of previous movies and copyright. So we're gonna get a new version of it. I'm not sure what the product name is though. So
You don't know. I want to know your first the thoughts on, because we're going to go more with the "It's the end of the world as
kind
we
of is.
know it" channel, and we feel fine.
Sure, yeah.
What is your thoughts on this Tilly Norris? For those of you
Oh,
who don't know who
the
she
AI
is,
actress. Yeah. What are my thoughts? I guess I'll be really authentic about it because sometimes I feel like my opinions don't really go along with the narrative of the current friend group, like collective, like delusion mindset. So some people will be like, "Oh God," others won't will agree. I think it's perfect for the times that we're living in. I think that we have manifested a really wild version of reality where now we get to watch something that is ultimately created by this sort of egregore that we all, manifested into our world. And now it's shitting out actors and actresses and like, you know what I mean? And next is going to be the first AI politician ever, and next is going to be the first AI sex worker, and next is going to be the first AI dentist, and I might go to the first AI surgeon though. I'm just being honest. I might because I think that while they will probably lack the empathy and foresight, if you ask them to do a certain thing, they'll probably do it more precisely than a human. At least we know that much. You know what I mean? So
well, they
I'm like,
already have
yeah, sure.
robotics. They have robotics, and
Yeah.
I know my aunt has had robotic surgery. I mean, there's a doctor there overseeing it, but it's because it's easier to have these tiny little alien
Right.
like instruments get in there and do whatever rather than, human hands and stuff like that.
I
And
agree.
you know what these
Just
so-called these things were developed for, right? Not to be wearing all day in your car and wearing
right.
into the grocery store. They're in case that a surgeon is working on you, so they don't spit or sneeze or whatever goes into the person, and they're meant to be changed every few minutes or whatever. Like when you're done with a certain task, you go change it. You're not meant to wear that thing for 8 hours a day.
Right, right. I might though. I might wear it for 8 hours a day as a fashion statement. You know what I mean? Kind of like how the mask literally became a piece of your personality in 2020. Do you remember that? Now that Fauci's up there getting grilled over what looks like a fake diary. That's a conversation for another time. But I do have a question for you, because this is the first time you and I have officially spoken in this manner. And it's a question I've asked on my channel a lot, but it pertains to the AI stuff that we're talking about. And so some of you guys in the chat have heard me ask this question before, but let's just say this, God forbid such a timeline would occur, Missy. I want to start by saying that. God forbid this should happen. But let's say you tomorrow on an alternate timeline were involved in a horrible crash and you were basically paralyzed from the neck down. And they were like, well, I'm sorry, that's it. You're going to be a quadriplegic. Sorry, that's how it's going to be. And then suddenly you wake up and here comes Elon Musk and he's like, hey there, hey there, hey there, Missy. I would love to give you this new chip. We're going to implant it in the back of your brain. And there's about a 70% chance that in the next 6 months, you're going to walk and talk and be totally normal. In fact, this AI chip's going to implant itself so deeply into your spinal column that it'll just take care of all that damage. Or you can just be paralyzed.
Ooh.
Which one do you choose?
No,
Which timeline, But no, for real though, that's a grim version of reality, right? Is that a grim version of, like reality?
It's awful. Yeah, because if you choose that and it makes you be able to walk, see, there's a reason we have the Matrix glasses on. This is the They Live version, because now we can see all this. What happens to my soul? You didn't tell me that.
I don't know. What do you think happens?
That's what I don't know.
What
do you guys think in the chat?
I can give you my opinion because I think it's an opinion. Everyone thinks they know, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, I know what it is. I heard so-and-so's podcast. I watched her video on this. I saw that part. I read the blog. Dr. Salah says, I mean? Everyone has an idea, right? I think the soul is maintained at all stages of the human experience. And after humanity, I don't believe that there is any human-made or otherwise technology that really has the power or ability to separate the soul from your consciousness. It is possible to give your power away. I think it's possible to make certain agreements during the physical incarnation that greatly limit or kind of put your soul into containment. I think that's a thing that we've even seen time and time again through the act of selling the soul. But I do not believe that there's any sort of, pseudo medical, treatment or any form of implantation they're going to put in your physical container that's going to trap that. And I think, even if you go back to the simple fundamentals that everyone talks about of like, you are not the body, you are this, you know what I mean? It's like, this is just a container. And so for me, I'm like, if they had to put some weird AI thing in me, I definitely wouldn't want that to happen. But I guess it would be better than being a quadriplegic, right?
Add anything. This is my feeling. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Right.
Fight it, do it. And the people that took all that stuff into their body with no proof that it was going to do anything. But we do not diagnose, treat, or prescribe. This is all theoretical for entertainment purposes only.
I'm just researching a book in Minecraft, so
but I can't see with these. They're actually fogging up. But that brings me to the thing what you were saying that makes me laugh. I mean, I don't know if you try to be a comedian, but I find you funny.
Thanks. I think, honestly, I hate to say it, the older I get, which I'm not really that old. I'm almost going to be 50, but it doesn't feel old. Like, I don't feel old. I just make a joke out of it. I just try to be real. And I think that I have both a fault and a benefit of not taking things very seriously. It goes in both directions. But I think one of the reasons why I really present that way, at least within the spiritual community now, is like a lot of us, we've been around here for years. And if you stay hanging around in these friend groups long enough, you're going to watch every identity, every archetype, every story, every spiritual trope and platitude be recycled so many different times that you're going to be like, oh, you're the reincarnation of Cleopatra. That's funny. 5 years ago, I met another version of you. Oh, you're this. Oh, and let me guess, you're in a program too. How precious, you little star seed. You're going to watch it recycle itself so many times. And then you'll also hang around long enough to see all those people who were so gung-ho into that piece of their personality 6 or 7 years ago. They're going to suddenly be onto this whole other thing. And oh yeah, forget it. Now I'm actually, turns out I'm actually, I'm a hybrid now. I'm a hybrid. It's not
They
about
take themselves too seriously. And for those
Yes.
just
Yeah.
joining, please subscribe to the channel. If you're new to my channel, it does help the Al Ghul rhythm, I guess, and like it and share and all that. But for people, this says it all. For the new, it just
There's a
really.
lot of good people though still too.
There is. It's
I'm
just
definitely,
people take themselves too seriously. One thing I want to cover with you is like the craziness with these wannabe influencers. I mean, we're all influencers to a degree because we put our influence. Ooh, Eddie Shredder, Eddie Vedder. I like Pearl Jam and all that.
Oh, that's
grunge
actually
music.
part of an imaginary band that I like created back in the day when I was in a real band.
You were in
And
a real band. I want to hear. That's one of the
oh,
things I want to hear.
yeah, we could talk. Well, yeah, we could talk about that. But yeah, I know I like created this band fronted by two people who ultimately became alters when alters became cool. And so there's Eddie Shredder and Marshall Stacks. And so
Okay.
now we're doing Eddie Shredder. It's a little bit more introspective and less combative than Marshall. But
Yeah.
anyway.
And you brought up the gun, makes me think of that song. Got a gun, but I got to. That's okay, man, because I love God.
I don't know what song that is, but that sounds perfect.
Something about a pellet gun.
A pellet gun. Yeah. Interesting.
It was on, I think it's on Vitology.
Oh, from Pearl Jam. I was definitely there in right? That was Pearl Jam, right? I was there for the like the beginning of Pearl Jam and like whatever era that was. And I want to be real with you, like that was one of the grunge era bands that I I couldn't get then and I still don't get now. And I was just like I could never get past his vocal style, but that was the style of the 90s, right? That was
right.
that was the grunge style.
I liked Chris Cornell better. I mean, really
Me
loved
too.
Temple the Dog, which was like Soundgarden with Eddie Vedder, and also like Alice in Chains and all that,
Yeah. I'm glad I got to see Alice in Chains at their sort of height during the very beginning of the Lollapalooza era. Right
Wow.
when that stage of music era started. It was a very cool thing. But anyway, you were talking about something totally different.
Oh, I was talking about, I wanted to go down the rabbit hole because you know who's another one that showed up the other day? I know everybody likes to pick on Elena Denon, but do you know who Kim Gogan is?
Oh yeah. Yeah, she's a lot of fun. Very similar in what I would call to go back to that word, a similar phenotype.
Yes.
Similar phenotype to Elena. I guess
Yeah, like
to say what do I
up.
think of her, I just think that she's one of many like very, very delusional people with a lot of self-importance. And you guys are going to see time and time again, you hang around here long enough, that drug of self-importance is going to be the true enemy of every single one of us time and time and time again in this so-called spiritual community or whatever you want to, whatever label you want to put on it. But the self-importance with her is of like just shocking level. I know she's been making a lot of predictions throughout the years and saying she was controlling various things and
they don't come true. Like this
none of
the
it.
Intelligence Agency report on the Federal Reserve Federation control and Treasury system, and people send me this nonsense. This time they did, and I just happened to see it on Facebook, and I said, "Oh yeah, she's another one, similar energy signature." And the reason I bring this up because years ago, when I had my old show, I did a show once with a guy I know, and it was called Spiritual Panhandling. And I'm not saying we shouldn't charge for services. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with when we charge for services, we're charging for our time for creating content, but not because we're channeling beings from the planet Pewam. And I use Pewam because if you know the story of Ralph Lale.
Is that a real planet?
I don't know, but Ralph Lale said he was abducted by aliens and went to the planet Pewam. And this is like a book out of the 50s to do with the Brown Mountain Lights. I don't even know if you can find it anymore. I told Rob if I can find this book, we have to read it on his show because he's like,
"Oh, that sounds fun, though.
About that."
That sounds fun, though, and I would be more inclined to believe Planet Piwa over like I'm in Kruger, or I'm in Nachtwaffen, or you know what I mean? I would be so much more inclined to believe something that we haven't heard before rather than just the standard issue. I'm not saying this guy's real, I'm just using it as an example. But you know what I mean? Rather than the standard issue checklist of like, it's almost like a checklist that you have to give off whenever you go on someone's show or as they put together their bio now. It's like you gotta add certain like keywords in there, but Kim, to go back to the subject of that, I think she's kind of similar to Elena in a lot of ways, although I think this sucks to say, this is what's hard about it. History, I think, will show that Elena was right about certain things, like in terms of various groups, but a lot of that was already cataloged in the Russian documentation. So it's not that she was groundbreaking in that sense. I think she kind of added more awareness to something and sort of co-opted it and plagiarized it as her own. And, we can go up and down all day about her and all these other people. But what I'm getting at is, what do I think about that sort of phenotype of an individual in general? Yeah. I think that is will soon be listed in the DSM whatever as a new form of spiritual narcissism. I can relate to that. It's a literal fucking disorder where people think that they're the arbiter of this, or I'm the only envoy, or I'm this number one thing, or you know what I mean? Later on in history, we're going to be able to identify it very quickly. But like right now, for a lot of people, those individuals serve as what I call consciousness gateways as we go through the awakening experience. And we will inevitably spend time within those sort of passageways or those rooms as we go from one to another. And what we're really doing is discovering pieces of ourselves. We're making connections from other realms. We're remembering certain things. We're going through what I think for a lot of people is really an initiation into higher levels of consciousness, because ultimately people that get attracted to all of those movements, and I had experiences like that with the Corey Good scene, where it's like, that you're growing and changing when the day comes where you're like, wait, this feels like bullshit. Why am I? What
yeah,
no. And then you go to another one and you're like, no, this is it. This is it now. Let me tell you, this is it. This is the thing. And like, that's the gateway process where we go through and it's really about just discovering the self and learning, discernment and what is real and what is not, and what is relevant and what is irrelevant. And, like the concepts of light versus false light. And I think just the narcissistic personalities that are well placed within our current soul group are really strong catalysts for learning that stuff. But anyway, I'll stop there.
When we think we've arrived, we haven't. There's the whole thing of thinking we've arrived somewhere. Where are we going? We're just the nowhere man sitting in his nowhere land, making all his nowhere plans with nobody.
Kind of.
Doesn't have a point of view, knows not where he's going to. Isn't he a bit like you and me? No, man. Everything's a song for me. I can't help it.
No, that's okay. That's all right. It is for me as well. Just maybe in a different realm. Wait, so what is this? Cute question. Is Matthew going to the Mackinac conference? I didn't know there was a Mackinac conference. And I guess I've come to the stage where I realize there's a low chance that I'll go to any conference at all unless I get invited. If I get invited to stuff, there's a chance usually that I'll take part, but I really have a hard time with being one of those people that's like, have me at your conference. Why? Because I'm going to do something amazing. I've just never been like that. I don't post testimonials from my clients. I've never done that. You know what I mean? I've never been one of those like, notice me first. I'm the best one. But what sucks is that because I don't do that, I miss a lot of opportunities. And a lot of people have told me over the years, you need to do more events, you need to try harder, you need to put yourself out there more. And so who knows?
I
It's a
thought I
weird
saw
balance.
you were going to do some event.
Oh,
I
I
saw
did.
this-
I did a 5-minute talk at Anthony or Kalask Channeling's. It was just like me talking about some soul thing for 5 minutes, which was actually very well put together. So I'm like, it was a cool thing. So
for
every now
5
and then,
minutes?
yeah, but it was actually fitting with the format of what he was doing. So like if you were to see it, you'd be like, yeah, that makes about the right sense. But you know, I think that will change. I see a stage coming where there's a lot more activity in that area. I think right now I'm kind of meant to be exactly where I am, but
What do you think of Project Oblivion? I mean, you've talked with Julie on her channel.
um well, I think that the concept of Project Oblivion as being some concerted effort by powers outside of ourselves to create division within a community, I think the concept of Project Oblivion is a thing that we've been watching take place, throughout time in a number of, societies. So that the concept of it is true. Now, do I think that there is some shadowy, alphabet agency person that's like, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to make sure those two star seeds don't get a chance to talk over Zoom. I'm going to make sure they don't get a chance to talk. I don't think that is really something that takes place in the way that people within our community present it as. I think that there's a lot of like sort of victim what's the word, like victim praising that takes place.
Victimizer programming?
Yeah, and it's almost like if you want to be taken seriously, you sort of have to acknowledge that there's some shadowy thing that's trying to derail you at all times. So it's like, do I think that there's a host of forces seen and unseen that do not want people to connect and like do not want harmony and would like to slow down a process of growth for an overall human collective? Well, not to be rude, but like, duh. I mean, obviously, you know what I mean? But is there some concerted effort to stop low-level podcasters and people that like, most of them have fucking DID, you know what I mean? And they're just like going through stages of re-identifying their trauma over and over and over again. You know what I mean? And they're playing these states of identity, it's like an associative play game that a lot of people are going through. For those that are able to step outside of the trends and look at it, you'd be like, oh, this is associative play. I see what you're doing. Okay. Which is fine. That's a normal thing. But do I think that there's some concerted effort to be like, let's stop them from doing that? Let's stop them.
Smith, though.
No.
What about the Agent Smiths?
Agent Smith, I think, has become it's ultimately more of a mindset that people will hold on to. And I think you're going to find the Agent Smith kind of role within every type of social group, within every industry, within every friend group, within everywhere. I think that there's this strange amount of excess energy that people place upon the concepts of opposition and overcoming or confrontation within this so-called spiritual community that doesn't really seem to fit in with what seems to be going on in reality. When you step outside, of it and you realize like, oh, I don't know, it does not really look like that from the outside. But anyway, I guess she had to go. So, I thought you were doing a rock and you were outside smoking a
it's easier
cigarette.
for me me to answer people in the chat on my phone than
Oh
it is on
yeah,
the
no
screen.
worries.
It's a lot easier because I'm
No
seeing new
worries.
people in the chat. Please,
I was just gonna take it as an opportunity to hijack your show and
here we go. Look,
start selling crystal bowls.
that's funny.
Anyway, sorry.
That's funny. Yeah. So,
Project
oh,
Oblivion's real. Yes, it's whatever you say it is. That's the end. That's the end of
well,
my
and I
answer.
think if we have fear, we create stuff. Now, I know I've really
Yes.
had black helicopters fly over my house. I really
Oh
have.
yeah.
And it was at a time when I was using, it was weird. I was using some ancient blow dryer, and as I was blow drying my hair with this ancient blow dryer, I think it had a frequency where it was generating too much electricity. They flew over the house. They decided to actually knock the power out, and my cat Soda actually jumped
Oh
5 feet off the ground and got sick after that. So this stuff
whoa.
is real. It
Oh
really
yeah, it
happened.
definitely
But
happens. Yeah.
why does it happen? And then you get to a point where it doesn't happen like it used to. Maybe because it's integrated in you and you don't feel as afraid of everything.
I totally agree with what you're saying. I think that we're in a kind of a social group right now that's trained ourselves to believe that every bad feeling is an attack. You know what I mean? That every time I feel sad, it means some demon is trying to attack me. And then I guess it's weird, and that's maybe where I come off as jaded because then I'm like, a part of me wants to say, you guys have even you wouldn't even know that if it was actually if it was coming out of your ass at this point. And I say this as a person who has a literal collection of videos and photographs that people have sent me over the years of things like Morgellons fibers coming out of their skin, literal growths and manifestations and things coming out of people's bodies that I've never shared with anyone, that I'm not going to post online because it doesn't fit in anywhere. And I'm like, to me, that is a manifestation of negative energy in the form of an attack, not this like, oh, I don't feel like I should go live today. Maybe it's Project Oblivion. It's like, come on. That's just what I mean about like there's a crisis of self-importance. But I should probably change the subject because I'll keep talking about this one.
Well, what do you think of
Watch
things
out.
like when people blame everything on Mercury retrograde or something like that?
Sometimes it is. I've noticed
Sometimes it really is.
Mercury
Yeah.
will Mercury screwed up my life a few times. You know what I mean? I just try to be more of a realist where I'm like, you know what I mean? How much of what goes on in our life is personal responsibility? How much of what goes on in our life are maladaptive social responses to, the world that we've been forced to live in? You know what I mean? How many, negative thought forms are just the unresolved things that you need to communicate about with the world? But if you follow the right people, it's demons, and it's like, but sometimes it needs to be that.
And you know what? Mercury retrograde, that also made a song. Mercury's in retrograde again, but at least it's not just coming around pretending to be my friend.
You know what's weird? I think I was born in a retrograde. Supposedly they say if you were born in a retrograde, then retrograde's good for you. If you're in the chat and you were born in a retrograde, let us know.
Now Neptune is retrograde, they say. Let
Oh,
me
really?
just check the chat.
What happens when Neptune goes retrograde? Do you know?
I think everything's more emotional, weird. With this whacked out moon we had, what was it?
That sounds exciting.
Aquarius, and Libra. So it's about balancing emotion. Oh, you know,
Yeah,
we were talking about. I want to ask you this. You brought up
yeah.
AI robots, but do you think an AI president might be better than what we've had? It might be.
Lord, what do you? Oh man, that's a fun idea. That would be a fun timeline to go down. Or would it? I don't know.
Or
I
is it
mean,
just better this?
do we already have an AI president? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. There's so many places we could go with that. That's one of those ones that scares me. It doesn't scare me as bad as merging with certain countries, but it's one that like where I'm like, whoa, what would that look like? It could be comedic and exciting, or it could be a literal disaster. It's probably inevitable. It's probably inevitable. It's probably coming within the next 10 to whatever 25 years, you guys. AI president, maybe.
Okay, question from Julia. Woman president or full Congress of females? Yeah, why not? And
Yeah,
I'd
I
say
don't see any problem with that. I'm not
I,
one of those people that's like only men should do it. You know what I mean? Like you could why not? I would go for it. You know, I think there needs to be a balance. I would like to see a balance, but
me
I
too.
would
That's what I
like
would like.
if you're
Yeah.
looking at just like the trends of America, it does make sense that we should probably have a female president at some point. I know there's some conservative people that'll shit a brick over me saying that, and that's all right. I'm just thinking like sooner or later it's gonna happen. As long as it's the right person, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, not the
But
ones that have tried to run,
yeah, yeah,
not the
yeah,
last two.
yeah, yeah,
That's just
definitely.
a masculine form and a feminine body anyway. That's being
Right.
the control force. Just the strings are being pulled. What I want to know is if you, because of these conferences, see what's fun about doing
Can't do these
conferences. If you
glasses
want to
anymore.
speak,
Sorry.
sometimes you can have the event paid for by somebody and go speak at a place that you want to go. I used to do that with cruises. I used to do UFO skywatch tours with third generation night vision goggles on cruise ships,
Oh,
and the
that's
cruise
cool.
was paid for, so it was fun and it was places that I wanted to go see. So if you could go somewhere, where would you want to go if you wanted to get out of Texas? Where are you drawn to go first?
Well, do you mean like from a cruise perspective or
From either a
from
cruise or from
literally
anywhere, just a
anywhere?
vacation, anywhere.
If I was going to go on an international trip right now, would probably want to go to some place like Japan. Um, just, but I say that as a person that's not traveled. You know what I mean? The only countries I've been to is Mexico. Although I have been to the significant amount of Mexico, it's a fascinating place. But I never left like North American mainland, I guess we could say. So I would probably go to Japan. But from yeah, was there another part of that question?
Well, I mean, well, let's start within the United States.
Yeah.
Like, if we have a
Oh.
meetup with Rob, are you going to meet us? Would
Oh
you want?
yeah, I would definitely go to that. I would honestly go anywhere. I Yeah, I'm open to that idea. I would love to see it in a less traveled location, less spiritually what's the word? Trendy, more organic, but everyone has a wish list for a certain thing and it'll just be what it ends up being. So
What to you? What makes a place spiritual anyway? When people say this place is spiritual or a vortex, what do you think of that?
well, having spent some time in Sedona and places like Shasta, I think despite their sort of over dilution at this point, I think there's a tangible vibe, more so what I encountered in Shasta, I would say, than Sedona. Sedona feels like it got turned out into like the sort of like Gaia TV version of that, you know what I mean? But the way I define that in terms of what we would call a spiritual place is based more upon the feeling and the energies that I encounter when coming into it. And just like what shows up there, what type of emotions are present there, what type of inner kind of images or even words are present within the mind when you're there. I think that there's a lot of categories that we can look toward when we're entering a place and we feel a different vibration that can help us tap into like what the essence of spirit has to say or what it's about or what the vibration entails. And so I just do it more by feeling, which is weird because with people I do it more by sound, which doesn't really make any sense, but yeah, so I just kind of, I guess we'll say I judge the vibration. Fake spiritual it does, it is fakes, it is though. Aurora Diamond Heart was there at the same time we were hanging out there together, and it's so diluted now. I'm not saying it's horrible. It's just it's like the McDonald's version of it, where it's like
Oh yeah,
everybody
yeah,
has one,
yeah.
199. You get to have your own too.
Well, my experience with Sedona when I was an over the road truck driver was actually before I got into Sedona. It was this beautiful, like bigger than a pond and smaller than a lake area that we went swimming and picked blackberries and had a picnic lunch. And this
Sounds
dragonfly was
nice.
just with me all day, like
Nice.
landing on me, and felt like actual dragon was talking to me. It was one of these experiences. So to go to
Yeah.
Sedona after that was sort of a letdown. I mean, because, and then we were bobtailing the truck, so we really couldn't go hiking. It was too hot. It was beautiful. Got some beautiful pictures, and I did get to go to that New Frontiers health food store to go eat, and the food was pretty good. But that was my experience with Sedona. And my remote mission I did there years ago, I actually saw vampires held under the ground against their will as paid mercenaries. Like, they didn't want to be there, but somebody wanted them there and they had to be released. So there was some kind of vampiric thing. And the Lucifer telescope is there too, owned by the Vatican.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know the distance to Lake Havasu, Arizona from Sedona? Do you know how far that is?
No,
Okay, there's this story that I found in watching those crazy little like Twitter, video chunks, and there's this guy that was talking about how he was the son of some elitist family, and he claimed that there is a hotel or some business in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, where you go into the basement and they have this portal, and there's this demon that they summon that comes in there, and they all bring their sons, and they do one of those like Bilderberg style, like power, like rituals. And he's like, there it is, it's there in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. And I'm like, I wonder what if would they be in this?
no, haven't been there, but I know when we were near Tucson and close to the border of Mexico, we saw what looked like super soldiers for real, like a bunch of. And even when I was in Puerto Rico, when I was staying at the embassy suite for breakfast, it's like when you see a bunch of guys all in good shape, no matter what age, and they all sit at a table together, and they just have a form and an attitude. I'm like, these were like the military super soldier guys of Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico's like a huge ambiguous military situation there. It's a lot of military stuff.
Yeah. I think
Weird.
that's one of the few states I haven't been to yet. Yeah, I haven't. Is it even a state? I don't
Is
know.
it even a state yet? It wasn't a state when I went. And there's a reason they vote against keeping it a state, because they can do this weird military type of stuff. They are like, possibly even the chupacabra was created in a lab there. That's
I would love that to be true. Like if you were going to be a cryptid, which cryptid would you be?
Me?
Yes, you have to be one cryptid.
A mermaid.
Oh, okay, good. Nice. That feels right. That feels right.
Yeah, a mermaid, or if it was a land creature, one of those. What is that cat? That's a cryptid cat. I can't remember the name of it.
I could see that. You're gonna be a feline yeah, definitely. Okay.
Yeah.
If
What
for
about
anyone in
you?
the chat, I want to hear what for those of you in the chat, what cryptid would you be? I honestly, I've thought about this at different intervals in this lifetime. It used to be one of those big, soul level questions I used to ask myself, when you get up in the morning and look in the mirror and you're like, what cryptid am I today? That would be weird, but no, I think I would probably be Mothman.
Oh, that's cool.
Aurora Diamond Heart knows. Yeah.
Moth
Right.
Woman, Aurora, I'd like to get you on my channel too, because I know you recently went to Sedona. So I would like to hear your experience with Sedona. I always felt a connection with Lake. I'm not Sedona. I meant Mount Shasta. We were taught Sedona's on my mind. I meant Mount Shasta. I know she went to Mount Shasta, not Sedona, but Mount Shasta, I'm thinking about the lakes and springs and different things to do with water. To me, that's where the power is. The power is in the water, when it's hot springs, cold springs, and when Ani Sophine was on and talking about that CO2 vault place that you sit in that does healing.
Yeah. That is one thing I love about Shasta is the headwaters area.
The headwaters, yeah.
Yeah. But What do you think about those really big water towers that are all over America? You know, they got tons of them in Texas. That's why I'm asking. But I know since you've driven all over the
I
country, what do
remember
you
seeing
think?
that, and I don't know what that's being used for.
What do
I
you feel
questioned
when
that
you?
then.
What do you feel when you
I
see
don't
them?
know.
What
I
do you
feel
think?
like they've been, maybe they've been having these centers of different types for a while before they've told us they've had this. You know how many places I've seen lately where I see these warehouses that have loading docks and there's no
Yeah,
trucks
yeah,
going in and out? What is
right,
going on there?
right. So, what do
Yeah,
you think's inside the water towers? Do you think they're actually full of water, or is it some kind of device? Is it a
it might be
missile
something
silo?
besides water. It might
I
be
feel
some,
like it's gotta be. Like,
it's got to be
really,
something else. Yeah.
why would they? I don't know. I don't. Maybe I get fixated on really weird shit. The people that know me know this, so they're like, "Oh God, here he goes." But like, I've been just noticing the water towers all over Texas, so much so that the AI started sending me videos of water towers. That's how much. And I'm like, "Oh my God, now they're sending me. Oh Jesus, you know what I mean?" You're like, now the AI knows I'm watching water towers. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
That's creepy.
okay, why would you pump all that water like 7 stories high in the air in a weird little cylinder with a
You,
orb on top of it just
yeah.
to hold it there for
Yeah,
what?
because it's
What are
not
you gonna
gonna
do?
it's not gonna stay good. It's gonna get mold and
Right,
mildew unless they're chlorinating the shit out of it
right.
and putting
And it's not even
fluoride.
enough, right? How far is that water gonna go? How long is that water gonna last you? You know what I mean? The way people use water in this country, like 50,000 people will take a shower and tomorrow morning, you're like, oh, we're out of water again. You know, damn it. You know what I mean? And so it's like, what's really in the water towers? Let us know in the chat if you
And
know
some of those
who's
places
in there.
that look like they house, whether was it a chicken coop or whatever. I hated to see those chicken trucks, but sometimes I wonder, is there people in those places?
I'll bet you
Is
there maybe
if
there
there
is.
is that a, like, remember the band that had that name, or what, you stop at a light, what's it called, a what light? Don't want to say too many key words, but
Oh,
are
what?
they holding people there?
Probably. I don't know what band you're talking about, but I would not be surprised. I would not.
The band name is called Traffic.
Oh, okay. I was
Because
like, wait,
there
where are we
was
going? I was
the
like,
reason
I
the
was
reason
not
I brought
following
it is
that one.
because actually, one of the Marvel movies opened up with this "Dear Mr. Fantasy" song by
Okay.
Traffic, and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting song for the beginning of a Marvel scene.
Yeah. I
I
feel
already
you.
noticed
A
that.
little
Like, I
too
noticed that they
symbolic.
played Led Zeppelin in one of the Thor movies. They played. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's okay. I'm just let me finish this timeline of the water tower because I see Joanna LeBlanc in the chat says we need a remote viewer. So here is the thing. In the things that the AI sent me after I obsessed on these water towers way too long, they sent me this video and it was all what's actually inside a water tower. And don't look it up. Do
I'm
not.
not. Yeah.
Whatever you do, don't look it up because you get this weird feeling of like guttural fear in the pit of your stomach when you see inside that shit because it's just like this weird dark chasm of like water and they say it's aerated, which I just discovered when water's aerated, you'll just sink down to the bottom no matter what. You can't even float in it.
Oh,
And
this is
so for a
great.
lot of them, if you go inside the water tower, you will literally just sink. It's like, wait, so there is water in them now? But it's like, is there really? Or are they telling you that to create this sort of fear? And so my question that I have for those of you guys out there is how come the government doesn't want us to go inside water towers? Why? What are they
Right.
hiding?
Yeah. That's.
Remember the
Yeah.
Storm Area 53 events or 51, whatever. Storm Area 52 event where we were all going to run to Area 50 whatever and just storm in there. I want to propose a new one. It's going to be kind of like Occupy Wall Street in 2012. Remember that one?
Yeah.
That was cringe, right? Let's just go there and sit down. Okay, that'll teach them. I'm going to sit down. I propose we occupy water towers. Boom.
Okay. I agree with that. That's
Who is with me? Somebody make one of those little AI shorts out of this. Post it. Anyway,
uh
sorry. I'm getting carried away on the wrong channel.
I'm trying to figure out where I was going to go now. Oh, I know. I did a trip before Thanksgiving a couple years ago, and we were going to go. We like to go to this. It was in Columbia, South Carolina, where we were going to end up. We were going to end up in an Embassy Suites and do the zoo because they have special lights for Christmas and all this kind of
That'd be
stuff.
cool.
But we ended up in the middle of nowhere, and I ended up seeing this trailer that was like empty, and I had that creepy feeling of the traffic, you know what, of what I was saying. And then not far from there, and I think there was some of those water towers. There was those water towers that look like farmland, like it looks like that's what they show us, like it's a farm, and it's, you know, they're going to use it to water their crops or whatever they're going to do. And then after that, there was like a testing site, a nuclear testing site that I was driving by, like some kind of weird military thing, like this area was used for. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Just happened upon that.
You've probably seen a lot of really weird stuff driving all over the country. At least I know I sure did. I mean, for me, it was early 2000s, yeah, damn, early 2000s America. But like, right, you see a lot of really weird stuff out there, man. Like,
yeah, you do. And especially on government lands. I had this conversation with Chloe because Chloe and I did a remote view, and we see a lot of this nuclear devastation, you know, where Area 52, I forgot it was even called Area 52 because we were looking at Skinwalker Ranch, you know, and this like ley line that goes up from Rachel, Nevada, which is like where the Little Alien Inn is, north of Nellis Air Force Base, Vegas, and all that, and Area 51, and kind of goes into that. And then where does it go from Skinwalker Ranch? If you headed east, well, it would go right over towards Sedona, Chaco Canyon, and all that.
Chaco Canyon's another one that I would like to see. I have not been there yet.
Yeah.
Got a really interesting vibe.
Yeah, it is interesting. And what's interesting about it is because to see something like that in the United States, normally you have to go out of the country to see something like that.
Yeah. What do you think was the worst place that you went to when you were driving everywhere and you were like, my God, I hope we never go back here? What do you think was the
There
worst?
were parts of Texas I really didn't like because it seemed like it went on forever. There's
It
parts
does.
of Florida.
Right?
There's parts of Florida, but the hardest places to drive is really the Northeast. The Northeast, like around 9/11 time, and dealing with that, just not easy. And even like going into Canada, as much as I love Canada, post 9/11 wasn't fun. It was nice when you could just go over the, then there was a point I could walk into Canada from New York. I mean, we parked the truck and were able to walk right into Canada and went to Niagara Falls. But then there's the stuff at the border with the truck. So when you had a truck, but now you can't even get into Canada without anything, just a passport and a suitcase. It's a pain in the neck.
Yeah. I remember that's how it used to be in Mexico as well. Like if you lived in California, you could live, and I used to do it constantly, just walk across the border. Like, okay, we're going to go get lunch. You could just cruise over there. No one cared. They ask you some weird questions and look at you weird on the way back. Like, what? You know, and they're like, okay, go. You know, that's it. That's all it was. But
mountains of West Virginia. Okay, well, mountains of West Virginia, that's not far.
That sounds cool.
Point Pleasant, where the Mothman's from. I never made it. I went over the bridge, the bridge that was replaced. I didn't have time to get to the museum. If I go back, I definitely want to go to the museum. So what ends up happening, my friend Donna goes to the museum like a couple months later. But where I did go in West Virginia is the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, which was in, I think, Roanoke, West Virginia. And I could not actually spend much time in there. It was very hot and humid.
That's
the
one that's abandoned, right?
Huh?
That's abandoned, right?
It's no, they do tours there. They actually do ghost tours. But then I had that song in my head forever. The lunatic is on the grass.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Wow.
It was
Interesting.
like it was like gave me the heebies, because isn't it interesting that in the early 1900s all these mental institutions popped up everywhere, and I think it's
Mhm.
because they were doing experiments. It wasn't that people had anything wrong with them, they were creating it. They were playing Dr. Moreau
Yeah,
and creating the problem, like
I
doing the
agree.
waterboarding and the frontal lobotomies and the stuff with the electrodes. Crazy, crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And now they're all out on the streets. You
Yeah.
camp out there? What? I saw
But
another comment where Joanna said you're near Skinwalker Ranch. Because if you are, maybe that's where we should have an event. That's like on the fringes of Skinwalker Ranch. And then you can take like a search party in there under the cover of darkness. You know what I mean? Because you have night vision stuff. Oh my god! So this
yeah.
is this is the perfect assignment. This is your big mission, man. You're
Yeah.
gonna have to sneak us into Skinwalker Ranch. Do you feel like you're ready to do that and
No, I
get
really don't
robbed?
want to. Now, people go to Isetti Ranch. I don't know. I mean, I've known people that have gone there and they've seen stuff. I think it's because the military puts on a show, though. They know. I mean, even when we did our first night vision thing at the radio station in Asheville, because that was broadcast on Asheville, that at that time we didn't know what we were looking at. I know for a fact that was military. I don't think it was
Uh,
alien. I just think it was the craft that they've had, the Lockheed Martin, this and that, that they
yeah,
haven't told us that they've had, that they've been lying about for years.
yeah, probably, probably.
But
Now we're
I've
watching
seen the
a
real
little
stuff
PBS
too, which
movie.
is orbs at the Brown
Mhm.
Mountain Lights. See, that's something I could, going back to Ralph Lale from the planet Pewam. That's where he was abducted from, was the area that makes the Brown Mountain Lights, which is Wiseman's View in the Linville Gorge, where I just took a beautiful hike.
Sounds
It's
cool.
finally opened again. Since Helene, there's been a lot of devastation. So I'm going to actually go there tomorrow. I think my friend and I are going to go hiking again up there,
That
because there's a
sounds
really
cool.
good salad bar. As far as restaurants, I mean, I tend to like salad bars now, because at least I can pick and choose what I like. And I like Indian buffets and a good Asian buffet.
Totally.
I'll
I
take
feel you
that,
on
because
that.
when you can have a sandwich that's garbage, and I'm vegetarian, so my choices are limited. I mean, I'm like, what can I eat that isn't greasy or disgusting or just crap,
Yeah.
as opposed to having like this buffet of all these different choices, rather than this either hamburger or fake hamburger, or what, French fries. Everything's fried.
I know, right? I know. Who was it earlier that was like, "We're better off just cooking at home"? I never thought I would become one of those people, and now I am.
Yeah.
But I have a question for you. When you go hiking out in those strange places, do you ever, I mean, I imagine you do on some level, but do you ever stop and like connect with the spirits or do like some form of like ceremony and try to, just feel what's going on?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've talked about this before. I mean, not all the time, but and right now I do feel trauma. I didn't really do a ceremony last time I was there, but the land feels raw to me, because so many trees have been taken out. And I
Right.
used to do what was called the Biltmore Village Mystery Tour in
Yeah.
Asheville, which is connected to George Vanderbilt, the Biltmore estate, because he owned all the land there. And there's even stories that even the Nazis were in Asheville. William Dudley Pelley, just all these cool spots that
I
I go
wouldn't be
around to. I
surprised. I'll bet you.
I feel that tour is obsolete, because most of those
Right.
places are still closed, and I would have to change the name of it to the Aftermath of Helene, because the
Uh,
new ghosts that died, people that died and lost their lives in the Swananoa River and some of these other things, that is taking precedent over a new wound before the one that occurred 108 years ago, which would be 110 years ago now, because Hurricane Helene was in September of 2024. The last hurricane from that date before, the big one that I would talk about, was 1916, where it was the
uh,
three different rivers actually flooded the Catawba, the Swananoa, and the French Broad River.
all at the
And
same
even
time.
it was up to like 6 feet of water in the Biltmore state.
Whoa.
So I can't talk about those ghosts and all that stuff when this new hurricane has happened. It feels like I mean, that they're still there, but it's sort of obsolete because it's like a different energetic that came in and cleansed the old energy.
That makes sense. The timeline has shifted. You would need to create probably a new version of everything at this point, but
yeah,
that feels right in a sense. I would love to go on one of your tours. Honestly, it wouldn't matter what you were doing the tour on. I would go on your tour. And honestly, I say that as a compliment because I remember doing this one conference in Sedona, no less, in Sedona. And the person that put it on tried to book all these tours for people. And like, it was just like so much. And it was frozen as well. And it was just like, there was no possible way that it was going to happen. And it was just, you know what I mean? When it becomes like this struggle of mandatory, like, you're going to go on a tour. It's like, no, I don't, you know what I mean? But I would go on Missy's tour. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. And like when we went to the Pisgah Forest, there's a spot in the Pisgah Forest. There's a place called Perry, the Pisgah and Astronomical Research Institute, and there's a lot of different, and I've told some of these stories on different shows, but I don't know if you've heard it or not. There's a place called Devil's Courthouse on the Blue Ridge Parkway, and there's a sign that says you'll get like a $5,000 fine if you go off the trail. And then further down, there's a sign that talks about Judaculla the giant and how he liked to have his maidens dance for him. And then in Cullowhee, there's a rock with petroglyphs called Judaculla Rock. And when I went to the base of Judaculla, because my husband said, let's go look for, Bigfoot and this stuff. I said, I never would do this at night. Not because I'm worried about Bigfoot. I'm worried more about humans and the missing 411, like
right?
David Paulides talks about, which means you probably need to be packing if you go down there.
Yeah, and I think be together and don't wear bright colors and don't go near big rocks and don't do it when the weather's going to shift. What are the other criteria? No, really, there's a whole set of them, right?
You take a weapon with you,
right,
and because I've actually heard the thumping under the ground there. I really did, because there are bases in Western North Carolina for real, and I heard that thumping under the ground. And when I happened to go, so there was one way we were taking a hike, and it was towards Perry. I felt this weird frequency. I'm like, couldn't go any further because it was like overgrown. But we found $17 on the ground. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Went the other way, walked to the end. I was like afraid for my life because I saw these Indians in war paint. Whatever they did when they were doing the thumping under the ground opened the portal, because I'd been there after that and never had that same experience again. That's the other thing, folks. You can't always recreate a paranormal experience. Just because you have that one experience, you know how many times you may go to that place and you'll never, ever, ever have that experience again because the conditions have to be right. I swear to you, I saw like these, what came to me later, the download was from the history of the area. This was Tsali and his men hiding out from Andrew Jackson, and he had put a curse on the land. For real, these Cherokee put a curse on the land, because if you go to Western North Carolina and you're not in alignment with the land, you will be tested to see if you are worthy of living in Western North Carolina. I kid you not. It's happened to so many people where the land's rejected them. They've said there's so much bad luck. And I know after visiting Robert the Haunted Doll when I was in Key West, Florida, he told me, if you believe in these curses, that's what makes them so. Because for me, Robert was good. I saw Robert holographically opened all this stuff up for me, where I started seeing timelines of, World War I, World War II. It was right before that stupid war started, by the way. And he was also showing me he doesn't like kids doing this, playing with their phone. Like,
oh, really? He doesn't like the iPad generation, huh? Okay.
No, because he's from like the 1900s.
That's good though. I'm glad. Okay, so Robert still has some old world values. I can definitely respect that.
Yeah.
That's
So
cool
it's
that he was
weird the way
actually
this
good to you.
comes. I mean, it's like something will trigger you, and sometimes you think, "Are you making this up?" But it happens like fast, like a flash, and a download comes, and you connect all the dots, and then it makes sense, especially when you check the history, because Robert is actually I call him the guardian gatekeeper of the East Fort Martello Museum in Key West, Florida.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. That's cool that
Yeah,
you
and
got to meet him.
yeah. And he was created as a doll, but because everybody looks at him and connects their energy with him, they're creating a tulpa or egregore. We
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
learn about tulpas and egregores.
I think they're real. I think this they're just now coming into what we would call, common consciousness, if you want to use that term. Every people they're sort of rising the concepts of such. I think it's been, a tool and a manifestation, and it's just been it's been a thing that's been going on since time immemorial. And if we all get together and hang out long enough online and think of a certain thing, we'll create a tulpa of our own, right? You know what I mean? Just like I used to talk about this a lot. Slender Man is a really good example of that. Something that was called into being through our collective consciousness, giving it a form and a name, and everyone adding their energy and investing a little piece of it, and boom, now there's a real thing. And just like the backrooms, backrooms is a great example of it. I should have used that first, because backrooms is another thing created by our collective consciousness that is now, as it reaches the height of Hollywood manifestation, it becomes realer than real, in a sense.
Is that like Mall World kind of?
Probably, yes. But the backrooms is an actual pocket dimension that you can check out and connect into, whether it be through what we would call the imagination layer in your mind, or through several different types of astral projection. But yeah, no, it's very real. It's like an available place.
There's a movie I want to discuss, Inception. Your thoughts on that? But first, let's address this question from Eric. Matthew, could you disclose what it was like when you were doing lots of entity removals back in 2020? Discuss the toughest ones, please.
What it was like. Well, I mean, it's still going on to this very day. It's just nowadays I don't necessarily answer all those emails, because a lot of things are created by the individual. I would say at the time of my life when that became a thing that I just started doing, it was equal parts frightening. It was very cathartic in some ways, because I had to come to terms with pieces of myself. I had to come to terms with the real world idea that there is some sort of a force or energies or spirits, if you want to call them, that would step in and work alongside me. And I know that a lot of people throw that around. They talk about that as if it's this sort of commonplace thing, like, oh yeah, just me and the guides, but it was never a thing that I relied upon until it showed up in my life. And it sounds dumb and cringe, but I feel that I was educated through those beings and those spiritual energies in terms of what does it really look like when a person has an entity? How do those things manifest within the physical body? What behaviors are congruent with, attachments, and what isn't? And what are stages of trauma that we metastasize into these sort of forms that we perceive within our mind as being a real thing? I think in the beginning, it was a very confusing game of kind of taking each instance as it comes and just kind of observing myself go through a process that at the start of it, and even to this day, literally 9 years later, I just passed the 9-year mark doing this full time. And it's like I noticed from the very start that it was almost like it wasn't me doing it. And that sounds dumb to some people, but I think that was really what it taught me, is that there was a process that was taking place outside of myself. And I think, in terms of really crazy stuff, I mean, I don't mean to be disappointing, but I've talked about it ad nauseum on our channel, and you're welcome to sift through some of that. But I've looked into the eyes of people that I believed at the time were inhabited by demons. I've walked through homes and had to grid off physical places where uh people did summon real life entities, like not like the trauma version that comes in and the bad feeling, like the real shit that really happens. I stood face to face with a person that I believed and understood, and still to this very day know in my heart to be a living vampire, and watch the energy that this person summoned, and watch the way they used it and attacked me with it, and literally disabled me in that moment. And so it's like, I guess there's so many different ones I could go into. I wouldn't even know where to start, to be honest with you, other than just to say that, like, it's real, it happens. And I don't really like making this movie like story now, but maybe that's why I'm semi like resistant to go into that at the moment. But yeah.
Did you ever do paranormal investigations? Because I've done them, and you can feel like even temperature changes in the head.
Oh yeah, you feel temperature changes. You can walk into, man, I have walked into places and had energies that were so strong. I'm just gonna say this, okay? And people will get triggered by it. I have walked into places with energy so strong that within seconds you became so sexually aroused you almost had an orgasm. And it had nothing to do with anybody's thoughts, and no action and no physical contact and no anything, nothing like that. It's like there was an energy in there that wants to harvest those feelings. And it's
So
like
there was
just
like a
going in there and you're like,
succubus, incubus type of an
you will
energy, right?
feel it. And I've literally sat across the table from a person that had the ability to send that type of energy directly into people's body. And I was like, no, you don't. They're like, oh, well, let me do it. And I was like, what?
And this is an awaking state, not in the dream
Yes,
state.
face to face, real world, in public. People are walking by. Could have sat down at the table. I mean, like really twisted, weird things. And so it's like,
are they even a person? Are they a bot? Are they a agent
well,
Smith? Are they just
this person was a real person. They're still out there. They're very well off, well to do, semi-important person in Los Angeles that's still living, I would imagine, still doing their thing. Last time I saw that person, she was literally sitting at a table that I first met her at, across from a person that looked just like me, almost like, here's my next target. And I was like, and I snuck around the side of a car and tried to like slide away so they didn't see me. And so I imagine,
was there a clone of you there?
Oh no, it was just another guy that looked just like me.
Silly. I'm being, because I do want to address the clone.
No, totally.
Hollyweird. But do you think she had any substance abuse or alcoholism or anything too?
Nope.
Okay, so that was her drug of choice then, I guess.
I think it was
people's sexual energy.
I think it was a person that had been taken over, like truly and fully embodied by some form of a vampiric entity that was so powerful it had the ability to just literally live inside that person's body, until the day came or the night came when I watched it come out of their body and come over to me, and I saw it. It's like one of those things where it's like, you're not on drugs, you're not, you know what I mean? She hated drugs, you know what I mean? I saw it and lived it.
That's bizarre.
But yeah.
Thank you, Matthew. Aurora said that's interesting. Thank you, Matthew. You always fascinate me with these experiences. I watch old videos from 5 years ago, back recently. Okay. So anyway, I was asking you before about tulpas. I mean, I want to circle back. Paranormal stuff. Totally, but did you ever get to go to Graceland, because you're not that far from it?
Oh, Graceland.
Is Memphis.
I remember going to Memphis. I remember playing in Memphis. I don't think we went to Graceland, but I remember driving on the freeway and being in like exits to Graceland. So no, I haven't been there, but it's been
my feeling about after going there, that the ghost that people feel that's Elvis's ghost, I really think it's like a collective tulpa egregore, because people's thoughts, they're wanting to see Elvis. So they're seeing Elvis. It's almost like wanting to see Jesus. It's kind of the same thing. when people want to see Jesus, I think they're seeing a egregore. What do you think?
Yeah, I would not be surprised at all, especially with Elvis. So I guess that means you don't think he's still alive, right?
I don't know what to think about that. I mean,
Wait, what about
last
Tupac?
night or yesterday, people were saying Jim Morrison might be alive. I said if
I
anybody could
know,
fake his
right?
death, it would be him because of his father being in the,
Right. I know no one ever talks about that, right? Right.
Yeah,
What about Tupac?
I don't know.
Damn. Okay.
I hope Chris Cornell's alive because I really love his voice.
All right. What about Charlie Kirk?
You know what? People think Charlie Kirk is possibly alive. You know what's weird about this? Have you seen the pictures that Erica Kirk looks like JD Vance?
I know. Aren't they both
That
the
they're
son and daughter
clones.
of Michael Aquino or something like that?
I don't know, but what's weird is I already decoded this when Trump's fake shooting happened. I'm going to say I feel like
Thank
that
you.
shooting
Thank you.
fake.
It was. You're right. History will prove us right. Trust me, everyone out there who's still crying over Trump getting, busting a little blood pack near his ear when he kneeled down. You know what I mean? Because that's literally what happened. He went down, pressed it, little dribble happened, and then they have to sacrifice someone in the audience, of course.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, he got sacrificed.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were
Happened to
saying.
be up at Mount Mitchell that day. I was hiking to the top of Mount Mitchell, which is 6,684 feet. And I noticed that was the first time I went up there since the Vance Monument had been taken down, which was the obelisk that had to be taken down because of those different agencies during that crazy pandemic. Because her story has to be changed. I mean, I get what obelisks are, but sometimes if you're going to take something down, what are you going to replace it with? Because it was like leaving an open wound. But it sort of
Yeah.
scrambled the frequency where these two things couldn't talk to each other, this obelisk and what was going on at Mount Mitchell. And I
Okay.
was getting this whole thing that the energy at Mount Mitchell's finally clean. It doesn't have this weird underground base weirdness. Actually, your compass would get screwed up when you would go up there too. Like it would do something weird to your compass. So there really was some weird magnetic anomaly there. But a friend of mine told me about the shooting with Trump, and I got this whole decode when I looked up Zebulon Vance, the Vance Monument.
Oh,
JD
right.
Vance looks exactly, and I could send you these
Yeah.
pictures later. I've talked about this on shows. I've posted it.
Yeah, I think I
JD Vance
recall
looks
hearing this.
exactly like Zebulon Vance, like he's a clone or doppelganger.
He probably is.
And now he looks also like Erica Kirk.
He does. I have to admit it.
And
I have to
Erica
admit it.
Kirk was probably Charlie Kirk's handler. And Charlie Kirk's either in witness protection or whatever, or they sacrifice. I really don't know. What do you think?
I can only tell you what I feel, but having watched that video of the day that he died a lot, which I know is morbid, you guys, but I do, I don't know. I do watch a lot of stuff like that. I think it's important to witness such things, not from like a mocking perspective. It's just I don't know. I've always been a person that's willing to witness such things, And what I saw that day was a person who lost the majority of their life force essence within like 7 seconds or something. Like within seconds, they were gone. There, it was like it was there and it lingered, and then something was released. And that could just be a crazy statement on behalf of a person who claims to be a professional psychic, or that could be the process of the soul and him actually going through death in the moments of that. And I believe that he died. I believe that he's not in witness protection. I think that that's another extension of that mindset of nobody dies, they're all recycled as another character, and turns out Alex Jones is Bill Hicks, and Jeffrey Epstein was Andrew, was it the president so and so,
Oh no, but
whatever.
Jeffrey Epstein, Epstein could be. What
Palm
about
Beach,
Palm Beach
yeah.
Pete? The teeth don't lie.
We've heard his voice enough now, and we've seen enough of Palm Beach Pete to know that it's not. Anyone with discernment knew that within the first 30 seconds of
But it
hearing
is
his
weird
voice.
about the teeth. That is weird, though. the teeth.
I do agree, but there's only so many faces in this world. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like for real though, there's only so many faces. You're gonna see them again and again and again. And anyway, aside from that, it doesn't really matter where
What
I was.
about Paul McCartney? Dead or
You know
alive?
what's funny? I was just talking. I was literally in a session with a lady just about 24 hours ago, and we were talking about this very Paul McCartney thing. And I honestly wonder about that one.
But
I
the
really
voice.
do. It sounds there's some kind of I don't know what I'm willing to think that it's or who was it, Billy Shears or something. I'm willing to think maybe it's
Billy Shears. That was
right.
on the Sgt. Pepper's album.
Right? Maybe that's Paul. I'm down to go there. Whoever it is, he seemed to pull out a pretty good musical career afterward. He certainly has some talent, you
Yeah.
know. So what do you think? Did
I don't know.
Paul die?
Sometimes I get to the point I don't want to spend a lot of time on this stuff anymore. I have a life.
Right?
Yeah.
No, thank you for saying that because
a
people get so
distraction.
caught up. People get really that's what I mean by there's this mindset within these communities that invites this sort of cyclical delusional thinking. And part of it has to do with no one really dies, they just get reincarnated, you know what I mean? And it's like that is a thing that I pray we get to see the end of, you know, the JFK Jr., Princess Diana,
Oh my
Charlie
God.
Kirk,
If I ever hear that JFK Jr. is in a fat suit as
right,
as
107
again, I'm gonna puke. I
swear. Isn't it great? I love it. But that's what I mean. We willingly give ourselves over to a certain amount of delusional thinking when we enter into that sort of, you know, atmosphere that allows for our reality to get dictated by these people that serve as influencers. It's like it leads itself to immediate distortion. So much so, if you end up challenging what your eyes, ears, heart, and body already know to be real, you know, that's like sacrilege. You know what I mean? Like, oh God, no, he's coming back. You know, and it's like,
but just think of Palm Beach Pete, even if there was anything of him pretending to somewhat be Epstein and capitalizing on that, even though it's negative publicity, it's still publicity, and it might actually help him.
It could. You know what though? I would say why not? Palm Beach Pete, make as much as you can, do as many you know appearances as you can. Some people will say, "Well, that's horrible. How could you glorify that man's life, knowing what he did?" Well, if you haven't noticed, every horrible character that has risen within collective consciousness over the past few years has been immortalized by the internet. You know, we got George Droid, aka George Floyd, you know what I mean? We have so many different examples of it everywhere. But what about Candace Owens? Do you feel like she's controlled opposition?
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
I think she's owned by Obama. The first time I looked at her, that's what came out of my mouth. I wonder if she's controlled opposition owned by Obama.
Okay, you know what I heard? This is not true. We're starting it right now. I heard she's Obama's first daughter. Boom. Drop that, carry it all over the internet. Do one of those AI things, you know, where they take this moment and send that over and post it on Twitter.
My friend said to watch the movie The World Left Behind because
I've seen it. I saw it.
Even though that was put out by Obama, she said watch it. It's got a lot of
yeah, you should. Honestly, here's the thing. It's funny because I tell everyone how I can't watch any movies because I can't. And then like randomly, I was like, I really have to watch this movie made by Obama. I just have to watch it. And I did. I saw it. And it's kind of sucks, honestly. But you got to ask yourself.
Oh, I mean, she thought it had some good stuff in it.
Well, I'll be real. It does. I'm not saying it's all horrible. It's just, it's sort of like this pre-scripted, what's the word? Propagandized version of like what they're trying to create. But does that mean that Candace Owens is a protege of Obama or like whatever you said? I haven't heard that, but that would be kind of interesting. I can tell you that I kind of got bored of her for some reason, like after watching her hyper fixate on Charlie Kirk for a while. But then at the same time, I'm like, she would be the one I would want to continue to investigate my death as well, because she's, you know, whether it's controlled op or not, she's certainly relentless in what she's doing. I guess I just lost interest, to be honest with you. So
I
I
just
don't know.
think they're all
I don't know.
sides are the same. I don't think it matters. Like voting our way out of what's
Mhm.
coming. I don't think you can vote your way out of it. I think it's there's no difference
I
between
might not
the
vote
sides, and
anymore.
to even think there is just oh yeah. Julia says Candace is a psyop, and you know what's funny about that? There was something like
You're probably
I just
right.
happened to bring Candace to her attention because she was a doppelganger of somebody. Maybe it was Oprah. Maybe, and I said, "Oh my God, yes, this is Oprah's clone when she was younger." And what's weird about it is, I'm like, "Well, yeah, Oprah's one of the ones that financed Obama, so it made sense to me." But I
Yeah.
can't remember because this kind of shit, I don't hang on to it for too long
So
because I
so
don't
you're
give it
saying that
much
she's a
credence.
clone? So you think Candace is a clone?
Could be. I don't
I
know. I
think
don't really
I
think
think
anything.
Anchorhaven would actually know, because Julia, don't you have, didn't you say you have like 200 clones? You would probably know if she's a clone. So you probably would. Maybe it's true. She's basically saying the same stuff for months, but lately she's had some new stuff dropping. I hope it keeps going. I hope that she's getting a lot of good money off of it. You know, it seems like they had a strong friendship. Hopefully they can you know, I don't know where that's
Did
going,
Did you see
but
Disclosure Day? TKB's in the
no,
house
I
too. You
should
know
have
what?
seen it. It's hard for me. The only other movie I saw this year was Backrooms, but I want to
I
see
haven't seen that.
Disclosure
I
Day.
haven't seen Backrooms. I just saw Project Hail Mary. I thought it was interesting, but then there's the whole space thing. So guess what? I'm one of Charlie's Angels now
All right. Oh,
in
cool. Okay.
TKB's world.
Nice.
I'm not sure which one I am, but
I'm down with that.
it's me, Julia, and Chloe. So that I mean, it's
Okay.
funny. It is funny,
So you
funny,
guys are
funny.
out there fighting crime and solving mysteries together?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm into it.
Did you see so I wanted to bring up this because before we were talking about this Inception, when we were talking
Oh
about
yeah.
backrooms in the dream world and things like
Mm-hmm.
that.
I did see Inception. It was a really, I watched it like 20 times actually.
Really?
So,
Wow.
you don't know, for real. There was a period when I was kind of losing my mind well, I was literally, it was one of the movies that I would play at night when I would go to bed, when I had this crazy, like, all these events pre like Kundalini activation. I went through some really weird obsessions, and I was obsessed with that movie for a while. I was hyper fixated upon Close Encounters of the Third Kind as well, again, which was weird. And I would just play them every night. I would just sit there and watch them, and like just everyone was like, "There's something wrong with him, right?" And my ex-wife, or my wife at the time, was like, "Yeah, there is." And I was like, something was going on. Wheels were turning in me, but
What about things like Jupiter Ascending? Did you see that?
I did see that. That was the one with the, yeah, I do remember that one. There had some reptilians in it that I recall, right?
Yeah.
That were kind of cool. But I'll be real, it didn't really hit me. You know what I mean? It didn't leave a lasting impact
What
upon me.
about Melancholia? Did you see that?
I think this is the first I've ever even heard of it.
Melancholia is like this world comes to destroy this other world. Like it's like
Oh, okay.
even the name, it sounds melancholia. You know,
That
it's
could be
just yeah.
cool.
And obviously the Matrix movies, I don't know, it's when you put those glasses on, you know, I tune into you as, so
Oh,
do it
thanks.
again just for the people
Yeah,
that
yeah. No,
haven't
totally.
seen.
Unfortunately, these are the wrong glasses. That's what sucks. I brought the wrong ones, so I have to wear
And you
these
thought you
glasses
looked,
ones.
you were a Latino cool version
Oh
of
no,
what
yeah.
you did.
Somehow the AI made me like a cool, like, Mexican version of it. You know what I mean? Like the Mexican, like, celebrity version. You know, that's like super suave and, like, like smooth, and you're just like, damn. You know, it was that version of me, which is always good. Yeah. But I honestly just wear sunglasses. Like, the real reason why is because these glasses I got last year suck. And when I try to read the chat, it's very blurry. But if I wear my sunglasses that I usually wear, which are really, they're like perfect prescription, then I can see everything just fine. So the real truth of it is, it's so I can see the chat better. Otherwise, I have to go like
So you
this.
know what?
It
You're
makes me look weird.
schmexy. According to Anchor Haven, you're schmexy as that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I am partially Mexican, so that works.
For people that are just joining.
Totally. Totally.
Do you have any animals?
I don't at this time. We will have them again. We will have them again. I have a weird thing about living in an apartment and having animals where I just, for my whole life, I've always had outside cats and I've always had a yard for dogs until the last 10 years. And so or really 9 years. So over the last 9 years, we haven't had any animals, but we will when we end up living in a house with a yard. Because I'm just one of those people where it's like I don't do indoor cats. I know it shortens their life dramatically, but that's just how I was raised. I'm like, oh, you're gonna go out there, buddy, and you're gonna live your life. And yeah, you might get killed, but you're gonna live a life, damn it. You know what I mean? Like, so I always, you know what I mean? I let them go out. And
My cats live a life though, because I teach them to walk on a leash.
see, that's good if you can do that. I appreciate people that will do that.
Yeah, I do that because if you send them outside, they're going to kill birds. They're going to
True.
they're going to get fleas, and they're going to get ticks, and they're going to get
I'll
worms.
be real though. I want my cats to kill birds. I want them to do what cats do. Maybe that's why I'm too much of a bad cat parent. I'm like, yeah, go ahead, go over there and kill that rat and kind of toy with his body for a while. As they do, they'll like lay there and like just hit it. I'm like, yeah, go for it. Yeah, I should do that.
Well, if they kill stuff in the house, but if you have a bird feeder, like Arthur, one of his favorite pastimes is he likes to watch the bird feeder, and what he'll do is he'll pounce on the window and kind of look at
really?
these birds and stuff through the bird feeder. Let's see, you guys drop your questions for Matthew in the chat.
Totally. Oh, you know what? Since we're here, you mentioned this prior to doing our show. We're going to look up what's the food holiday of today. The American food holiday, which I don't know why I got into these. I really don't know why.
Well, there's a National Everything Day. I mean,
there
like
is
a National Cat Day. There's a National Squirrel Day. I mean, everything has a day. Why not a food day? Why not?
It makes total sense. But honestly, it goes back to like some stuff I learned about myself years ago, right when I started doing this work. And I was heavily programmed by literally just one person. And I remember her telling me that as I got older, my Taurus energy would come out more. And now I'm like realizing, and now I'm sitting here going, oh, that's why I'm doing these food holidays and getting offended when I get a shitty meal at a restaurant. And now I'm like, whoa, it's weird how like you see that kind of like coming into your life. You're like, wow, yeah, I guess I did turn into that. But anyway,
I want a cat stroller. You know that? I really want a cat
I
stroller.
love it when people do that. Some of us say that that's cringe, but I genuinely enjoy when I'm out in public and someone's walking by with their dog or their cat in a stroller. I'm always like, yeah, they're just cruising in there. I'm a supporter. Oh, okay. Today's whoa. Oh my Lord, Missy. This is a triple header. This is a rare and auspicious day in the world of food holidays. Okay, are you guys ready? Number one, is today the 31st? Okay, it is good. So today, number one is Cotton Candy Day. So if you're into cotton candy, you're in luck. Unfortunately, I can't really process it like I used to.
It's all sugar. I don't
right? I can't.
It's pretty, but I won't eat it.
I'll just feel sick and weird afterward. It's also this is kind of cringe, but maybe cool for some. If you have kids, this might be fun. It's also National Jump for Jelly Beans Day.
Nope, don't eat that either. I like the black jelly beans, though. I like a black one every once in a while.
Oh my Lord, are you really? Oh, really?
Yeah.
You must be. You just revealed one of your starseed origins. That means you're from the Orion Nebula. If you like black licorice.
Really?
I'm just kidding. I literally made that up right now. But watch, but watch some. some really cool person will say that on their live stream next week, and people will be like, "Yeah, that's true. I know it is," and you'll be like, "Well, I knew it before you did." So, but that would be cool. That would be cool if that was real. I honestly can't really eat the black jelly beans for some reason. I've always been like, with those ones, it's like,
But I look at it more of as a lozenge, like don't
oh,
chew
okay,
it right away because then it gets in your teeth and kind of just get the
true.
licorice. But you can eat fennel. What I prefer is when you go to the Indian restaurant and they have that fennel and those little tiny things that look
Yeah,
like
yeah,
good and plenty, but they're
yeah,
not
yeah,
good and
yeah,
plenty. They're the fennel that have like the pink stuff over it. Now
yeah,
those
yeah,
I'll eat a lot of. Like take a tablespoon and like, oh.
yeah. Oh wait, Aurora Diamondheart says that black licorice reveals that you're reptilian. She's gonna ask Laura Van Tyne. Oh my lord. So you are reptilian. That's okay, because I thought I was reptilian, and then they gave me the black licorice test, right?
I thought it was
And
a
I was like,
cat.
see, that's what happened. You thought you were a feline being. I thought I was reptilian. And then they gave me the licorice test, and I was like, oh hell no. And
What
they're like,
about the
well,
dark chocolate? If you like bittersweet dark chocolate, what
I'm
does
okay
that
with
make?
that. I'm down with bitter chocolate.
Instead of like milk chocolate that's really sweet, I don't like it.
See, some milk chocolates, like what if they're done well, like I'm so down with them. But
Maybe it has to be
I'm pretty with
European or
you.
something, not
Yeah, yeah,
American.
yeah.
It can't be
I'm
American. It's
I, well, they say most American chocolate's not chocolate anymore. Have you heard that story?
probably not.
It's not actually supposed. I only know because I saw a YouTube short. So that's how you know it's true, everyone. Saw it on YouTube shorts. And this guy's talking about how the majority of American chocolate's not real chocolate anymore. It's like a chocolate byproduct that's created of waste product that we used to use from after chocolate. You know what I mean? So it's like this weird mix of like emulsifiers and like basically trash level, like cocoa beans that get formed into like a pseudo chocolate, which is why a lot less people eat the same candy bars and chocolates that we ate as a kid. Not always because of health reasons, but because they don't taste anywhere the same anymore, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's noticed that they don't taste like they did. It's not necessarily you that's changed. It's the actual foundational element has changed. And there's a guy that talks about it. I wish I could tell you the name of his channel. Not that anyone here would ever care, but he talks all about like why the food is different and like, see, I get fixated on random
Okay,
shit.
let me ask you this. So, did
Yeah.
you think that they ever put yoga mat for real in the Subway rolls?
Wait, what?
You know, the restaurant Subway, they claimed that there was yoga mat in their bread. They also say that there's the Chrome, you know, it's Google
Oh,
Chrome. What's the word that goes before that? That's in this stuff. And now the newest one
titanium
is
and
that
aluminum hydroxide and stuff. Yeah.
Starbucks has plastic or silicon or something in their coffee now.
Dude, I swear to God, Starbucks is poison. And I'm a
I
person
like it
that
still though. I do.
I think I got ruined by it because I worked there for years back in the early days when I was in a band. It was a very good like
Oh yeah,
job
the
to have at
brand.
that time. And I think I got ruined by it for some reason. I had so much of it and I worked there for too long and I just something about it, it became poisonous for me. I don't know why. I was just like, I can't drink it anymore. And ever since then, it's been mostly out of my life. But let me just
Tell us about the band too after this.
Oh, okay. But real quickly, I'm gonna rewind because there's one last thing I have to tell you about our food holiday. It was a triple header, and I just want to finish that timeline, you guys. The other food we have today, so you need to eat this. Strangely enough, I have eaten this. This is also National Avocado Day.
Oh, that I can do.
Boom.
And my friend brought back some guacamole from Ole Guacamole, so I'm
There
all
you
about
go.
the guacamole and
There you go.
avocado. But avocado sure as hell does not go with jelly beans and cotton candy.
No. Although I'm gonna be real with you, today I ate it with jam. Can you imagine yourself
Avocado with
eating
jam?
avocado with jam? Did you ever think that would happen?
No. What kind of jam?
It was like some peach jam thing, but
Oh,
that's what I mean when I say I went to the most randomest, like weird, just non-fitting restaurant earlier. I was like, it was like a plate of like ice cold, like eggs, like, and I mean like chilled out of the fridge, and an avocado and like two pieces of toast. And I was like, what is this
well,
shit?
you know what? It
Uh,
kind of can go because there's such a thing as peach salsa.
yeah.
So peach jam with avocado, it kind of blends sort of because you can think of peach salsa without the peppers and the tomatoes a little on the sweet side.
What's weird is that part worked. I will say the avocado peach stuff held it together. But anyway, I think if you still like Starbucks, you should still go there. I'm not saying it's poison. I just like when I drink it now, it's so overpowering to me, and kind of like when I drink like real Coke, which I can't really handle anymore, where you're like, oh my God, it's so sweet. It's
Well,
just
when
like
you're traveling, it's
destroys you.
consistent. When you
Yeah.
travel, Starbucks is
Hmm.
consistent, and even
Right.
their like spinach, egg white, feta cheese wrapper,
Hmm.
whatever. It's like more consistent than going to some restaurant and having what you had.
Right. No, no, it is for real. I would have rather had the Starbucks breakfast sandwich today, which is sort oddly identical to the McDonald's breakfast sandwich. But what's weird is I will eat the Starbucks breakfast. I will eat that sandwich. You know, the one with like the sausage on it and stuff. I'm like, I'll eat that one.
They have one that's got pesto on it, believe it or not.
I might try it just
There's
for
an
the
egg thing with
experience.
pesto, and I'm like, I like
Yeah,
pesto. So
yeah.
we can demonize food, but you know what? I think all food is shit now, really.
It
If you
kind
want
of
to know the
is.
truth, if you don't grow it yourself, it's probably all garbage for the most part.
Probably. You know what I think we should do? We should just stop poisoning your body with food, everyone. From now on, let's just stop eating because you know what? I've had enough. Why does the government want you to eat so much? You ever ask yourself that? Why do they want you to
What
eat
about
food
when they
for?
start regulating what you eat? What do you think of breatharians?
I don't know, but I think we should stop drinking water too. Why do they want you to drink so much water? You ever ask yourself that? You ever asked that? What do they know about it? Are they putting dihydrogen monoxide in the water or something? I'll bet they are.
What about when they
Somebody
were
out there
finding
will know.
plastic or whatever in the snow years ago? Remember that?
Oh yeah, we got to try the non. Actually, it's funny. Aurora Diamonds Are Hearts on the screen. She was there when we got to melt the fake plastic snow in Sedona, and I think we were in her hotel room when I was holding a snowball in my hand, and I was like, "Let's see if it melts," and it did not. Didn't do anything. And some people say, "Well." Because I remember posting that and I was like, you know, since when does snow not melt? And people were like, it's always been like that. And I was like, absolutely no, it has
No,
not
snow's
ever.
supposed to be water, right? Julia says plates were smaller, portions were smaller. Yeah, now they supersize everything. What was
Mhm.
it? They even had a movie called Supersize Me
Oh
years ago.
yeah. Oh no, totally. I thought they were lying when they said everything's bigger in Texas. And then I came to live here and I'm like, oh Lord, it really is. Is that such a good thing? Maybe. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, go ahead. We had less meat when I was a kid. Probably. I hear that's a lot. That
What do
is
you think about the
uh,
fake meat? Like now they want
that's
to
a
clone the
concern.
animal.
That's a concern. I think it's already been going on, but you know, now it's everywhere.
Less
I
suffering, though. I mean, you can look at it less suffering, maybe less nutrition. Nothing has nutrition though anymore. So
yeah, I know. See, I guess everyone has their ideas on the whole meat game. So I will just say that fake meat greatly concerns me, and I hope that
well,
no one
which I
eats
shouldn't
it.
call it fake. I should call it cloned or 3D printed CRISPR
Yeah, so
technology.
yeah,
What do you
so
think of CRISPR technology?
I wish I could use it on myself right now, and I would change my genetics so that I had a super liver, and so I would be born with perfectly straight teeth, and I would be 6'2". So that would be a good height, and yeah. So
And you'd be that suave Mexican version of me.
right, yeah, maybe I would. Well, maybe I would. No, I think it's this. These are all the signs of the times, and I think that it's kind of a natural extension of where we're going. Whether you love it or hate it, whether you think it's great or it's tragic, everyone signed up to live in the time in which we had CRISPR. As evidenced by the fact that we're here. Everyone signed up to live in the time of the mass proliferation of artificial intelligence, as evidenced by we're here, we're living it. And I think it's see, I this is where I both fall into like a character flaw and also maybe a benefit. I treat it all like entertainment,
It
you know,
is.
as these acts of, as the author Carlos Castaneda says, acts of controlled folly. You know what I mean? Like I something about that really like works with
I
me.
did a
I
show
don't
on
know
that
how.
on my channel when I was looking at, like Fox News is 20th Century Fox, and all these news stations are owned by the entertainment industry. So I did a show with my friend called It's All Entertainment Anyway. Everything
Mhm.
that we're looking at is for entertainment, even the news. Maybe not the
Wow.
weather so much. I mean, maybe the weather's the only thing you could sort of take seriously, but even here
Can
in
you though?
Asheville, News 13, the guy would go. We used to call it Doppler radar instead of Doppler radar because they'd walk outside and kind of look. Let's see what it's doing right now. Maybe 5 minutes from now, it's going to do something else. So
Right.
we'll see if we can get the
Do you
weather
think the
right.
weather's still natural or is it totally controlled now? What's your viewpoints
I
on that?
think it's a mix of both. It
Yeah,
might be Mother Nature trying to rebel against the control.
I
She's
think it
mad as
does.
hell
Yeah.
and she's not going to take it
Right?
anymore.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Kind of like what happened. What was that? Like somewhere in the Middle East, how they overdid it and they got like 10 years of rain in like 2 weeks or something. Like inevitably nature's like, God damn it, what are you guys doing? No, like eventually. But what I've noticed, and I don't know, maybe this is too painfully obvious, and maybe I'm putting too much into it, but it's almost like they have complete control over the weather now, at least in this part of the country. I've just noticed how absolutely precise, my phone is at like delivering exactly what temperature it's going to be 2 weeks from now, because,
Oh, yeah.
and it literally is now. I mean, right, you guys? Like, if you're one of the people that actually looks at that, some people don't care. I do, but not really. But I just noticed stuff, and I'm like, how? Since when did that get? Because you were around in the '80s. I don't know how old you are. It doesn't matter. But you know, think of the weather reports of decades ago. It was not
Yeah.
as precise. Now it's like it'll be 98 for the next 2 weeks, and it's like literally exactly that. And it's like, and then on Wednesday at approximately 2:22 PM, it's gonna go down to 97. And then you're like, "Oh shit, there it goes." And
And
so it I don't know, it's weird.
and the
Anyway, go ahead.
storms, they predict that, because they want to get rid of all their bottled water. I think their bottled water
Oh,
must
is
have a
that why?
shelf life and they got to get rid of it.
Wait, wait,
So,
wait, for real?
so it's like, let's create a storm so we can get rid of all of our toilet paper and bottled water.
Okay, wait, I have a genuine question. Are you joking when you say that about the water, or are you being for
No, I'm
real?
not joking. Really, I
Okay.
am joking, but I'm really not, because that's what people do when there's a storm that's on the way. People run out to buy toilet paper and bottled water, and sometimes they get it wrong. But what
Right.
happened in North Carolina, nobody even took it seriously. I sure didn't, because I'm thinking, how is a hurricane gonna be coming to Western North Carolina unless there's directed energy or
Right,
whatever?
that doesn't
They,
make yeah, that certainly does not make sense.
I've done a rain dance in
Yeah.
my mind, Jason, without physically doing a rain dance, and it's worked because I was actually too lazy to do it. So
I think, yeah, I'm
I
sure you
talk
can.
about doing a rain dance, and I don't get to it, and it starts raining anyway. So it has happened. And what I think about this year is I almost think this El Nino, this is what they say, it's an El Nino year. So because it's warmer, that's why there's less storms. But what I'm concerned about is later these Arctic snowstorms, like when hurricane season turns into winter and it becomes snow.
Mhm.
That's what I'm concerned about this year. What do you think?
That would not be fun because I am not a cold weather inhabitable human. I'll have to figure it
I
out.
take that though over these other storm. I mean, snowstorms are awful, but these hurricanes are terrible. I'm like, I
Oh yeah, I
can't stand
know. Yeah.
hurricane season. I'm really, it just
We did
really.
3 hurricanes in Florida during the time that we lived there. 3 hurricanes. None of them were as bad as, we weren't in the trouble area. It was bad, but it wasn't like, yeah, end of the world. But that was one reason where I was like, yeah, I am ready to move away from here, because not because of the destruction, but because of the massive amount of first world convenience life issues that it caused, which I know sounds so selfish and lame. But really though, I'm like, that's just it, like it just sucked, man. And I know other people are, lost so much more, but yeah, I'm not doing hurricane weather anymore, which, if I had to choose between a hurricane and a snowstorm, I'll still take the hurricane. But
I'll take the snowstorm.
really, no, oh God, I
Yeah,
would
because the
no.
snow is probably, you might get some trees down, but with the winds, I
Yeah,
just
but a
would. But then
hurricane
again,
could even be over, and that'll be over in like an hour, unless it's a really slow one.
well,
Hurricane
it
will come and
depends on
go.
it depends on the level hurricane. What would you rather have, a snowstorm or a Category 5 hurricane? I think I'd take the
I think
snowstorm.
we had one when I lived there. Maybe. It was crazy. No, no, we didn't have category 5. It was whatever. It was a category. I'll tell you. I'll tell you that much. Some category, any of them, it was bad enough. Right.
I mean, my husband loves the coast. I'm like, I don't feel that the coast is a safe place to be with all this
Oh, really?
weather going
Oh
on.
man. Really? I think it'll be good for a while. Maybe
Yeah.
not.
What do you
Maybe.
think of like Edgar Casey predictions and people like that predicted things?
I think he was
Nostradamus,
great.
Edgar Casey.
I think Edgar Casey was an individual from a different time. From, we don't have many Edgar Caseys these days on earth, because why? One reason is because everyone wants to be that version of themselves. You know what I mean? Whereas at the time in which Edgar Casey, for the many years he was doing his thing, was still very much an anomaly even at that time. I think that he was very uniquely tapped into a whole host of different beings. I think at the same time he was also a very fallible human. I have experienced some of the dynamics that he experienced within doing his work, where I know that he did not take part in self care always in the ways that he
Right.
should, and I've had to learn really big lessons around that. I know that he also dealt with physical manifestations that could have been in part caused by, spiritual things, and that is also a thing that I had to reckon with in this life. And so I consider him to be very, very real. I also, there's this one thing that I remember him saying, tying into the future of having to do with wars and upheaval, and it still rings in my head to this very day. And that was that comment about how Russia will be the hope of the world. And I know that
Oh
sounds
wow.
very politically incorrect, but for some reason I felt that even then, and I still do now.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen, and it very well, who knows? We just don't know. But at least I feel like he was a real psychic. He wasn't like talking to Chat GBT and saying he was a psychic.
No, no, he was the real deal. I don't think he was David Wilcock. Although one of the things that we learn in doing this work is that while we don't always have direct reincarnations of that being, we have many people that will be born holding the frequency. And you can be
Right.
holding a lot of it. You could hold a shitload of it, or you could just hold one little piece of it, but you'll still have the frequency of it.
You can, I think past lives are this way. I think there can be, because everything's simultaneously
Mhm.
happening. There isn't past or future. Maybe it's oversoul memory. Like there's a piece of that droplet of water that's in that person. Like if you want to be Cleopatra, you can feel that you were Cleopatra because you're part of that timeline period.
Mhm.
You're part of other things that were connected to Cleopatra. So it's not as cut and dry. Like I was definitely
Very much
Cleopatra
so.
and I was the only one. Well, maybe it's a shared consciousness in a way.
Totally, totally. I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. I think it's very common. I also think it's a thing where people are going to kind of figure out in their own way as we go through the journey. Hopefully, maybe not. Anyway,
What do you think of Mandela effects?
seems as though they're happening all the time, probably
Yeah.
caused by timeline shifts. I see a lot of personal Mandela effects more so than worldwide stuff. Although there was one that came out a few days ago where everyone was like, now it's this. Oh, yeah. What was it? It used to be Joel Olstein. Now it's Joel Osteen. Have you seen that one? Do you know who Joel
No.
Osteen is? He's one of those super
What
parasitic
he's a
TV
Christian
evangelists.
influencer that
Yeah, yeah.
lots of
And
money. Makes
people are
lots of money.
saying that throughout their whole life he was Joe Olstein, and now he's Joel Osteen. I must be from the original timeline because he was always Joel Osteen to me. So I
It's
never
always Joel Osteen to me. I mean,
right,
not that
right.
I gave it too much thought about him, but what stands out right now for me is like the whole Kennedy thing with the car and how many people were in the car. I mean, there's something weird
Oh,
about
right.
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like super long somehow. And then at one point it was just a regular car. And now it's like somehow that car was holding 8 people, and you're like, what? What?
Or even
Yeah.
like in the Wizard of Oz, which is definitely a programming movie. People
Mm.
talked about, but there was some kind of thing like with a weird toy gun or some kind of thing in the movie that isn't in there now. One thing I know about that, I've never tried this, but supposedly syncs up perfectly to the Dark Side of the Moon
I've
album.
heard them. Yeah. There's also, isn't there one or two frames of a shot in The Wizard of Oz where there's a body hanging in the background? Do you know about that controversy?
Something weird about it.
Yeah, there was a guy working on the set who actually was not, they always say accidentally hung himself in the back of some scene. So you guys can find it. I remember someone showed it to me in the 90s and I was like, whoa, and then it's, in one ear, out the other. Here we are 30 years later talking about it.
So,
Mhm.
what do you think is causing Mandela effects? What are your thoughts? I'll tell you mine, but you go first.
Well, some people are saying, the CERN thing, CERN is causing, this ripple, or it caused this, the whole story. We ended the world, and, it just bumped us over to another timeline, and what we're experiencing are the gaps and the differences. Whether you buy into that or you buy into the idea that we're constantly switching timelines and therefore moving through different, maybe shades of a color of versions of reality, it stands to reason that as we go through the journey, there will be differences, there will be discrepancies, just like when you're watching a movie scene and in one scene the character's shirt pocket is out and then 2 seconds later it's in, or you know what I mean? Just those random moments where you're like, oh, where's, I think part of that is kind of natural given the many timelines that we're living on right now, given kind of where we are as a planet as we go through this great change. So I think it's just us seeing the differences and the gaps and like the ripples and the changes between different versions of reality that we interact with. But I encounter it mostly in my day-to-day world more so than popular media, where we'll be driving down the road and we'll just see stuff. Both me and Honora will see stuff and we're like, wait, when was there ever building that, dude? Why there's suddenly a building there? Was that sign's never been there? And sometimes you never see them and they're there, but that's to me what it kind of is. So that's the short version.
I think there's more than one CERN. Just because we hear about the CERN, there might be other particle type.
Oh, right. Aren't there supposedly over 20 that are running constantly around the
so when
world?
they said CERN shut down, they're still going. And then there's the quantum D-wave computers. So I almost wonder, is it the two things together are manipulating particles, and that's the reason for these shifts?
That could make sense.
Here's one. I can say that time feels like it's slowed down the past few days and dragging because this summer break with my kids. Oh, you still haven't talked about your band. What kind of music?
Oh Lord. What's the correct term now? So this was early 2000s, like I think in what we would call like the era of emo and indie rock and like non-marketable screechy guitar playing and like, you know, a lot of cringe vocals. Although I've definitely was not a cringe vocalist, I can say that much. um and so it was like an identity phase for me. Like I guess I've been one of those people that's been either blessed or cursed to have like several different like very distinct life stages. I mean, I'm sure we all do, but some people have it to an extreme. And I had it to an extreme with music from a very early age, and it was all I did for about 7.5 years. At a certain point, we made some albums, we actually won some music awards. We did some videos, went on some tours, and you know, and it was cool. That's, you know, that's, I guess that's all I could really say about it. I wish that I could say I look back on it with great nostalgia and excitement, but for most of that period of my life, I felt like I was at war with something, mainly myself. So, you know.
Were you the vocalist, and what did you play?
Yeah, yeah. I was the main singer and guitar. It's funny now because I look back upon the pictures from that era of my life, and it's funny because as an adult, nobody ever. It's like I can see how physically sick I was, like in every photo, like literally physically ill. For years, I had advanced stage hepatitis C from a much like for like like 30 years. And that was at a stage of my life where I did not know how bad it was. And I was
Oh my
very swollen, very full of fluid, very miserable. And there was not a single person in my life equipped or with a willingness to say, hey, dude, maybe you're sick. You know what I mean? And so I think that it was just that added a different color to a lot of what I had to endure at the time because I was unaware of what that looked like. I did not know that's what was going on with me. And
Jason, I
that's,
love that REM song. I use it. I reference that all the time. I think it's a classic,
it
definitely.
is a good song. It sucks that I remember when it came out. That's how you know when you're old, when you remember when that video for that song was on M.
Do you remember the first video that came out on MTV? This is like what's happening
Yeah,
for
yeah,
100
yeah.
years.
I remember seeing it. I can't think of the band anymore, but I do specifically remember like the initial. You will probably know who it is.
Video killed
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
radio
There we go.
star, and they're
I was
telling you
almost gonna say
exactly.
that. I
They're
was almost,
actually telling you what they're gonna do. That's what they're telling you. That
and
the
they did.
video, that the radio's dead now, and now it's video. And Hollywood is kind of doing the same thing that happened to the music industry, back then. So
Pretty much, pretty much. Do you think it'll ever be reborn within our life cycle the way we had cinema and movies of the pre-internet age? Do you think we'll have a resurgence of that type of creativity?
maybe people are going to go see live theater and live entertainment because of everything's AI. But you know what's weird is I went years ago when my husband's mother was alive in Illinois, and she lived in Springfield, Illinois. There was a thing put out by AT&T which was Lincoln, to do with Abraham Lincoln. It was the Abraham Lincoln Museum, and they had a thing that they put on. I can't like this. My brain. Let me have something to drink here. It was called The Ghosts of the Library, and it was all
Oh,
holographic imagery. So you almost, until you really looked at it, if you weren't expecting it, they were showing us holographic imaging then, and we
yeah,
thought it was real. And I'm like, oh my god, that's a hologram.
yeah,
That's not a real person.
yeah.
So
It's wild.
the VR, where it's going, crazy, crazy.
Yeah, it's only gonna get weirder. You know, Jason says Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I never saw that, but I
I
remember
never
when
saw
it
it
came
either.
out. And like a part of me feels really good about that idea. Like I'm totally okay with it. I wonder what type of chaos is going to be coming in the next 3 to 5 years. What do you foresee? Do you think that AI is going to embody something on the physical planet the way Tony Robbins' dog wanted to get programmed by his own AI? Do you think, are we going to have that walking around? Are you going to go into
I
a
really
store?
don't. I really have no idea. I've heard a lot about the singularity. What do you think about that?
I
This
think it
whole.
already happened. I think it already took place. It probably happened a lot, a lot farther ago than we're led to believe. I really believe. And honestly, if you're a person that believes in the sort of frequency and the storyline and the narrative of all the people that are coming forward as secret space program whistleblowers and experiencers, if it stands to reason that if you believe those people, then you should automatically believe in the singularity, right?
Well, this
Right?
is the thing
Wouldn't
about
that?
SSP. My feeling about this, that's an umbrella term for a lot of things we've been hearing from the past,
Yeah.
which is my lab, MK Ultra, the MK Ultra hearings. And even if that's not real and it's a psyop, like all
Right.
these memories that we have that are dreams, they've done some kind of fuckery to our minds to have us dream about this stuff and feel like we're living this alternate reality, like Inception. What are they creating in the dream world that they're actually harvesting our energy to do this? Because this SSP whatever, it is astral. It's
Yeah.
something beyond the physical. I mean, and this physical's not even real anyway. Maybe we're already in the cloud. We might be. Would we know if we
I think I'm
were?
in the cloud right now. I want to believe I'm in the cloud. It's got to be something. All I know though is every single super soldier I've ever met has been the most in shape, most like obesely dysfunctional, like in disabled person ever. And I'm like, if that's what they're hiring now for soldiers, we got a problem in this community, man. You know what I mean? It's like most of you guys couldn't even do 2 push-ups. You know what I mean? And you want me? I mean, like for real? And
But
you want me to
I'll tell
believe
you,
you're a special secret soldier?
when you have
Okay.
family members, like say
You
there's a
know?
person that has no, they wonder how could they have any of this going on, but then their family members are connected because they may be in the military, they
Mhm.
may be high up in secret stuff in the real 3D. Then what do you think about that?
Well, that's a fact of life for my family. I talk about it in my book. My maternal grandfather worked at Los Alamos National Laboratories in I think the early 1970s for a short period, short because he ended up getting sick, I think, and couldn't really stay on with whatever that project was. But it wasn't some it wasn't some like he was working on alien craft. He was supposedly working on this glue, this space aged adhesives that they wanted to use to put together secret aircraft. So he wasn't like working on the secret stuff, he was developing something for them. And that was actually how all those themes came into my life as a child, because he spoke very early on. Some of the earliest stories I recall, but it was him talking about how he would drive home from New Mexico every 10 days. He would drive from New Mexico back to California where he would live with a family. And he was like, he would park on the road to sleep in the night. And he had multiple abductions, and he did not describe them as abductions, but I understood them later on to be my lab experiences,
Right.
multiple ones where he had been taken multiple times. I think it led him to end working there. And I think it lent to the cancers that eventually caused the death in his life. And what ended up happening for me later on was that I experienced something very, very similar at other stages of my life, but it was never a program. It was never you're going to go on a mission for 20 years and back, and don't worry, when you get back, you'll be a super soldier. It wasn't that. It was literally me getting taken out of my bed and brought into the place that looked like a clinic, where they put these devices on your body and these weird things, and they have literally, I can tell you what it looked like. It was like a horseshoe that they would put over your head with these little this like cylinders that would go right here on each side of your head. And using that, they could turn it on and they can play back every memory and every conversation and every single thing that you've done and did and thought and dreamed. It's like they can do full recall through the brain, just like a hard drive on a computer. And I remember having those experiences where I would just sit there like watching it going like, and every time I couldn't see their faces, it was like a blurry face, like I couldn't see a face. I do remember people joking in that environment, like someone telling a joke and people laughing, which leads me to believe they were humans. But
Yeah, yeah.
anyway, so there is
Have you ever had any
pieces of that
dreams? I
there.
mean, I've had my weird experiences. I've talked some about on other shows. Have you ever had any either missing time and
Mhm.
or like dreams of being in bases, which I have had dreams of being in underground bases where I've watched the experiments. It's
Oh
like my
yeah.
consciousness was extracted to watch it. Now, I know if it was being done to me, if I did it to somebody or it was somebody that I don't know, but I know I've seen it.
Yeah, honestly, I believe you when you say that. Like almost like you had to view the process of it or something. You were taken and somehow you had to watch something unfold in a sense, right? Man, I had so much stuff like that happen to me in the early stages of my awakening journey. And I remember trying to tell people from, like I did the whole game of trying to tell podcasters and cool people. And it was like everybody was like, nope, that's not real. Nope, that never happened. Nope, there's no way. But over the years since,
It's
I
the
have found
opposite.
many, right? Exactly. I've found many people have had the very, very similar experiences. And I had been taken into some out of body experience in like 2016 where it wasn't even like some alien thing. It was like me suddenly appearing with a group of people that were being given a tour through some sort of a laboratory area of what looked like some futuristic corporate lab. And they were brought into this room with these devices that I now know to be these quantum computers. How do I know? Because they were the literal thing that showed up 3 or 4 years later that was like that cylindrical computer thing with all those. I don't know if you've seen a picture of the quantum like device, like come, I can never say the word computers that they have, but it was like this literal cylindrical thing that came down out of the ceiling. And I watched people get put into this chair, because people always talk about this Montauk
The
thing, although it had
Montauk chair,
nothing.
yeah.
It was a chair, I can tell you that much. And they get put in this chair, and this thing comes down, this sort of like cylinder comes down, and there was another one or two things on the right and left side. It was like a triangle, so to speak, and this thing comes down in the center, and there's this visor that goes over your head. It would like and it would like sink like right into your head with this sound. And the only way I know this is because in this experience I was somehow watching it through the eyes of a woman, and she was short and she had reddish hair, like strawberry blonde kind of reddish hair, and she was the one they put in the chair. And it was like I was watching it through her eyes, and right as they put her in the chair, one of the guys that like turned it on was like, "Are you ready to play the world's most dangerous game?" And the woman was like, "What?" And then this thing goes over her head. And what happened was when that device or that whatever it was activated, is it gave you this sort of like director view of certain city. Well, I'll tell you what I saw. It was a city. It was like a metropolitan quote unquote area. And what they had the ability to do was to zoom in on a person and to look at that person's face, and kind of just like you see in movies and video games, it'll give you a readout of who they are and what they are. And then they have an option to control. And so they would then literally control that person, and they would walk them around, and it looked like something like New York. And I remember just sitting there going like, what is this? And the person that was viewing it suddenly got this really big spike of fear in her body, or maybe it was my body. And I was like shot out of it. I
Well,
was like
yeah, isn't that weird the way that
blasted
kind
out.
of stuff is? Yeah,
As
it's
soon as the emotion came in, it was like snap back into this world. And anyway,
my
sorry to
problem
go
is
on and on with you
the
all day.
either or consciousness is with any of these things, any of these subjects, when it's either this or it's that. Sometimes it's both. Like the earth is either flat or it's round. Maybe it's both. Maybe it's neither. Maybe it's all the above. Maybe it's multidimensional. Maybe you
Right?
can't believe any narrative they've shown us. Maybe we're on the planet Pewam right now. We don't even
I
know
would
that.
like that. I would like to be on the planet Pewong. I'm not even joking. That sounds cool. Let's hear of some new aliens. I'm tired of hearing about Arcturians, Pleiadians, Lyrians, and Syrians. I want to hear about some new Ians. You know what I mean? Give us some.
Yeah, I gotta
some
find
new
that book, because if I find it, I'm gonna have my husband look for that when he comes back up here, because that'd be something great to read on a show, because I don't,
I would
it's out
love
of
to
print. I
hear
don't
it.
think you can find anymore. But I mean, what do you think about this? Like, it's either the Earth is either, it's either flat or round. The moon is either fake or it's not fake. The sun, people say the sun's good for you. We should be solar. Maybe it's completely bad because it causes death too. I mean, yes, it causes things to grow, but it causes stuff to burn up. So what do you think about everything as either or? And here's a real new age one. Okay, you're gonna love this. It's either service to self or service to others.
Right,
I say,
right.
what about service to the whole, myself included? Why does everything have to be like
Yeah, right,
split?
right. It's always got to be duality, right? Uh, I guess the dumb answer, which is not really dumb, but it's just kind of like the duh answer is like, well, we incarnated into a realm of duality. So it's like that will be the foundational experience for most of us in some form or fashion. It either is or it isn't. It's this or it's that. You know what I mean? Yes, it greatly limits us, but that's kind of how it works. Do you know, I when start with service to self, service to others.
Yeah,
I fully agree with you on that. Like, how about service to everyone all at the same time, me included? Does it have to be one or the other? You see a lot of that thinking, once again going back to the delusional overall mindset of certain, we'll call it just cliques in the spiritualist communities. You often see that there's no gradation. It's either good or it's evil, or it's dark or it's light. And just the breaking things down to that level, I think, is often very foolish, I guess we'll say.
it's shades of gray.
Right. That
Maybe we
was one
live
of the
in a
things
gray
that
universe. It's not black or white.
Right. I was programmed with that heavily at another stage of my life. This person used to tell me over and over and over again, you need to learn to live in the gray. Stop this black and white thinking. Live in the gray zone. Do not do the extremes. You know what I mean? Like that whole, like, the no absolutes. You know what I mean? That whole thing. And I still follow that to this very day, honestly. I
That's
do
why the
follow
gray
that.
hat, if you want to
Maybe.
know.
Oh, it is. You know what's weird? I have a hat that's kind of like that, and it's way over there in this closet. And I thought about wearing it right when I saw yours, but I would
We should.
probably
We should
just, I would
start a
probably.
club so we can again here.
At
I
least
like
I'm
the
not a
alien
wizard.
glasses though. Have you seen the ones that look like alien glasses? They're kind of.
I'm probably gonna get some. Or no, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get a cowboy hat next. I've been talking about
You
it
should have a
on my
cowboy hat where
channel.
you live. You
I
mean you
know.
don't
I
have one?
No, I don't. I don't know why I don't have one, but I don't really go to a lot of social places, so that's probably why. But I want one. But here's the kicker: I want to get one of those really comedically large, puffy cowboy hats. The one that will take up most of the camera. Like if I bend down, it'll be like the big puffy hat. That's the cowboy hat I want to wear.
I have a sombrero. I should have worn that.
That would.
I
I
got
would also wear a sombrero.
I got it at
Yeah.
the Smiley's flea market, and I love it. Now, if I want to have the best Mexican food ever, I go to the flea market in
Right.
yeah, because
Go to
it's
the
all
truck.
Mexican, really good. So I got the sombrero because I thought I was going to be doing a festival, this white squirrel festival, and I wanted to keep the sun off
That sounds
because there was
cool.
a tornado that was going to, well, we picked up on the fact that there was going to be something. So my friend decided we're not going to go and work this
Okay.
festival. It's good we didn't, because there was a tornado that came through it. And I had
Yeah.
one friend that lost all her stuff, her tent and all that
Oh,
from
you
the
mean there
tornado.
at the event the tornado came to? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, shit. That would suck. That would be very fun.
Yeah.
Although I haven't really experienced full tornado yet, so part of me is still like, I want to have a tornado, which I know is a horrible thing to say. Don't chastise me in the chat, you guys. I know that's horrible. But a part of me is like, I kind of want to feel it because I did go outside during the hurricane in Florida, which I don't recommend doing that. It literally, the wind is so powerful, it hurts. Like even a little teeny leaf will, I mean, I swear to you, I didn't think that was true, but I was just like, and you can't, it was just very, very not, it was not a pleasurable experience in any way.
Well, you and somebody else, because in the Weaverville area, well, in all of Western North Carolina, they were saying there was going to be tornado warnings because we had a bunch of rain and it was just coming down, and it was to the point. A friend of mine sent me this thing, a picture of a tornado. Well, later to find out that this was a AI created photo. It looked real,
Really?
and it's like, oh, people want a tornado so bad or they want to, like you, they want to have an experience of a tornado, so they're going to create an AI image. I don't know why anybody want a tornado. Edisto Island had one. It took the roof off of Coots, and I mean, our RV's okay, but it almost completely trashed our RV.
Yeah, I don't think I want that actually. I live in an upper floor of an apartment. That would be very bad. That would be very, yeah, maybe I don't actually. I strike that, reverse the timeline. We're on an upper floor. This would be very bad. So I'll take what's another extreme weather event that could be somewhat fun?
I've seen him in the distance when we were a truck driver. We had to stop.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. It's a little scary, right? Like when you see that out there and you're like, whoa.
How about an earthquake?
Shit. Oh yeah, we had you know what? I would be down with an earthquake. I got to live through a few of them because I grew up in California, so we got to have a lot of fun with earthquakes. Maybe not a lot, but enough to be like, whoa, that's an earthquake. Oh shit. So I would say I'll go with a mild earthquake.
I felt one in Western North Carolina. I mean, one of the ones I slept through recently that I think happened last year. I slept through that one, but I remember a mild tremor. I guess there's a ride that you can go on. When we were in Gatlinburg, we noticed that there's a ride that you can go sit on this thing. You pay to go do it, and it'll shake you around like an earthquake.
Try it if you can.
Do that either.
Maybe you should try it. Honestly, it's very frightening. I'm not trying to glorify it. It's very frightening. And yes, disaster could occur, so we pray that they don't. But I will say the only good thing about it is if you can live through like a soft one, just enough to shake you up, it really is one of those moments where you're like, oh my God, I'm alive. You know what I mean? It's sort of like the whole world is like, when you're like, ah, and then it's over and you're like, hopefully it's over quickly, and you're like, holy shit. There's just like this.
So back to the sun, I was talking about, Earth, flat Earth, round Earth, whether the moon's fake, whether it's real. The sun, you heard about that they want to put these satellites up in the sky to buy your daylight, and that means does that mean there's no darkness? What do you think about that?
I'm worried about it. Maybe I'm too soft now because I'm like, what's that gonna do to like all the animals that live in that area?
Right.
We now get blasted with like daylight and they're going through their normal life cycles and they're like, what? What's that going to do to them?
On us. It's a spy on us.
It's very bad. I don't know. It's inevitable, you guys. We're going to see so much weird shit like this in the next few years. And I could go down a really weird wormhole on that one. But you're going to even watch people sharing and downloading each other's memories. You're going to watch programmable senses and memory experiences that we can share.
There was a movie about that. What was that? There was a movie about that. I can't remember what it is, but I remember seeing it recently. This year I saw it. A movie about that.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my Lord.
So that's already predicted.
Because that's a thing.
The Golden Dome. What do you think about that whole thing?
I think it's probably, I don't know. I'll just say before that, there's an alternate timeline in which myself and my wife, Nora, actually were some of the pioneers of helping to create these sensory experiences that people then began trading like products. like and that's a whole other conversation, but it's literally one of the frequencies that am involved with on a future timeline, which is not
They
necessarily a good thing. It's like
they
becomes like
also
a drug later
do
on.
it
Sorry,
to
Megan.
the movie was about they were involved in some kind of technology. I think it went bad. It killed some people and they wanted to erase the memories. And then the person realizes they erased the memory and wants to erase every bad memory. And then somehow gets on the train of figuring out that they did this and that it wasn't a good thing and that it was being sold. And then wants to dismantle the whole thing because you should have your memories and you should take ownership for anything bad that you did too.
Yeah, I can feel that. That sounds like something that will probably happen in the near, if it's not happening already, get ready.
But
But
I can't remember what the movie was because
yeah, yeah.
I
Anyway,
remember.
there was another question in there. I'm sorry. Did you say something? What was it? What
Well,
was
the
it
other
about?
thing was just about addressing, this thing about it's the either or about flat Earth, round Earth, the sun, the moon, and just all these things. It's still part of that polarized consciousness that it has to be one way or the other, and
Right.
probably neither one of us know. But what about the astronauts that supposedly go in space and I mean
Feel
I
like they
think
see a round object. That's what I think they see. A
yeah.
round spherical object, but that's just a fun, like I guess obviously no one really knows, right? Watch next thing in the chat. Someone's going to be like, I'm a remote viewer. I know. Get ready. If someone
but
hasn't
if
said it
but if
already, they'll say it. Right.
But if we're in a video game, that's just the video game version physically, because once we're outside of this whole thing. So what do you think happens when we do leave here for real? When we exit the matrix, and do we have to drop the body to do it, or can we exit the matrix without dropping the body?
I
Like I think
think
it
it
should be like
depends.
Spock, or like in Star Trek, beam me up, Scotty. I really think it should be that way. That's how
I hope it
that would be the
is.
easier way.
I guess it depends first off on what one perceives as quote unquote leaving the matrix, It could be a different thing to different people. I think it's possible, maybe with astral projection, that we get to experience the layers of reality that co-inhabit the space, whether they be, outside of what we would call as our version of a matrix, quote unquote, reality, or something very different. I think that each of us has a viewpoint into other realms through astral projection and meditation, which sounds overly basic to some people, but that's really the most direct route to begin experiencing such things. You could also take a bunch of mushrooms, and I don't know if that'll give you the same experience, but some people do that, but I honestly think that, like, meditation and astral projection is something that everyone can do. And that said, what was the other
The
part of
other
that?
part is basically I was saying when we are unalive, when
Oh,
we
right.
finally
Yes. Yeah. 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 Thank
expire,
you.
do we go into the light or the darkness? What do you think?
So here's the thing. I have actually this. I will preface this by saying this could mean next to nothing, because everyone claims to know about a thing that they have not formally experienced. But in sort of doing what I do, I have had people and what I would call guides or spirits come forth at certain stages and maybe give you a little glimpse, or at times discuss, fragments of what takes place in that other realm. Not to say that any one of us has the sole truth, but from what I've been shown so far in my experience, there's a great variation in the after death experience. Part of it has to do with layers of programming that take place in the physical human life cycle, meaning that certain events will take place just after the physical body expires that are part of our pre-programmed understandings of the way reality is supposed to go. And so that is where the individuality comes in, based upon religious programming, based upon, a whole bunch of different factors. the initial experience can be quite different. One of the things that I was advised of early on in the journey, and I don't know, some people will say this cannot be confirmed because it can't, but I was advised that there is no soul that dies alone. It's just not a thing that happens. It's just, somebody always will show up. There will be a memory, there will be an opening. What they choose to do with it beyond that is a little bit different. And some people can choose to remain on the earth plane for a period of time, which is where it gets weird, because time is experienced so differently from that perspective. 40 years can go by in the blink of an eye when you're disembodied in the non-physical realm. And time becomes very, very fluid in fourth density in ways that are still hard for us as humans to describe them. So some choose to remain, many do depart. And that's where we go into what I would call some of the standard issue experiences, wherein it seems as though every soul has a life review, a period in which we get to experience or see the effects of what we did in this life through the eyes of those that we affected.
Right.
That would seem to be a universal experience everybody goes through. And, we also make choices on where we're going to go next. Some people say that that's not true, but from what I've been shown, that's a foundational element of the midlife or the in-between lives experience. We learn and we discuss and we plan other incarnations. And so anyway, there's I could go on and on. I realize we've been here for 2.5
one
hours.
more question, and then I think we'll call it a wrap. But
Yeah,
how does one get rid of their programming? Because this is what the limiting belief is the programming, because everything should be a choice. So I like to cancel contracts every morning, because anything that I do, I want to be a choice. I don't want to be under a contract of any
That's
kind.
brilliant, for real. I'm not even being exaggerative. Like that's a very important thing to do, to like make choices of like, what do I accept? What do I not accept? What is my boundary? You know what I mean? Not enough people do that. And I'm being totally real when I say people need to do that a lot more. We need to claim our sovereignty, and we need to be very aware of like, what am I letting in and why? And maybe I'm taking your statement too far, but you kind of get where I'm going.
Oh, having had one of these near-death experience, all I found out is that you actually have choices that can absolutely not happen without your consent.
There you go. See,
Except
somebody
though that
knows.
they trick you. What do you think about the trickery, though? Because there is some
Oh,
form of
Lord.
trickery to get you to consent.
Is there? Is there?
It sure feels like it sometimes. Or is it extra sensory stuff where they know what you're gonna buy before you buy it. They know if you're going to turn left and right when you go in a store. They have it all mapped out already.
That much I believe is very possible, and in some cases true. Here's the only thing I can say on that, and this will sound dumb to some, maybe egotistical to others. Some it will sound misinformed, and to other people it will be absolutely correct. In doing what I've done for the past 9 years, and thousands of readings and clearings and moments in which our true intention has been to connect with spirit and truth as we understand it, there has never been one time ever when anyone has been warned, cautioned in any way, or even mentioned the idea of a soul trap. It is a construct of our human mind. It is something that you do not need to concern yourself with. When you pass on, the last thing you're going to think about is all the soul trap talk and bullshit that you heard on somebody's podcast. It's not going to factor. Do I go toward the light? If I take one more step, does that constitute going toward the light, or should I go that direction? Should I go this direction? It's like you're not even going to be able to use that level of recall when you leave this earth. You're not going to be able to decide whether you go through a soul trap, because it's not an experience. Now, there are within what we would call fourth density, meaning the realm beyond what we would call, time as we understand it. There are many pocket dimensions. There are many gateways. There are literal worlds that, as you go through the death experience, this is referenced in, I think, like the Tibetan Book of the Dead, when they talk about the bardos, these experiential gateways that we have to go through in the afterlife. And within those experiences, we can get trapped. We can get stuck. We can get caught up in stages of identity and sort of lessons that one has to go through in the afterlife experience. And in doing what I've done for this amount of time, not that that means anything, I've come to the stage in which I wonder, if are people describing the bardos as a soul trap? Are they going through the standard issue death experience and thinking that at some point we get trapped? Because you can get caught in stages of identity in certain after death processes.
Didn't the Buddha do that too? When the Buddha
probably. Venomous says, I agree. The wheel of samsara gives a much higher purpose than, yes, thank you. The purpose is to grow baby souls into, thank you for saying that. Because, like if you hang out with one person, they're like, oh yeah, wheel of life and death, samsara, totally natural. But if you hang out with some secret space program, mind virus, delusional people, they'll be like, it's actually a soul trap and we have to dismantle it. And it's like, well, yeah, from one perspective, it's the natural process of death and life and rebirth. And to another person, we're being held hostage against our will. It's like,
but what if you're laying in bed and your last thought is, you're thinking about all this stuff and you're thinking, I really just want to be reincarnated on the planet Pewam next time I come around, but I might get sent to the moon, the dark side of the moon instead. Would you create that because you're thinking about it?
I don't know. I hope not. I kind of doubt it.
With you, because I've heard you take your consciousness with you. You can't take anything else, but
I think that makes sense.
I don't know anything. I can have one opinion 1 minute, and I'm not attached to my opinions,
and then it changes tomorrow, right?
Ebb and flow in the next moment. So that's why
I think that's wise.
To be an influencer at all, and I don't channel anything but me.
Yeah, good. Me either. I don't channel nobody. No, honestly, I've said that many times over the years, where I'm like, don't necessarily take what I say as being some kind of gospel truth. Your body will tell you what is real. And the reality is, if you catch me tomorrow, I might be like, guess what? I've learned something new. By the way, that whole story from yesterday was bullshit, Right.
Does your flesh resonate with it? How does it make you feel?
We will know what's true. And I change my mind constantly. We learn. I think if you want to present yourself as an intuitive being, if you're doing it from a professional perspective in this world, if you are not updating your understandings of what is true based upon new developments and information, you probably have a lot of problems, and you're probably doing some very subpar work if you are not updating your understanding, because we have to. We're constantly learning more, right? We're constantly figuring new shit out. Many of the things you thought were true 5 years ago, you would laugh at now, right? You'd be like, oh my God, we actually thought that was going to happen. Now I know it's actually this, but so it's like, we have to go through that. I
know some people in 2020 are regretting the decisions they made. That's for sure. But anyway, this has been so great, Matthew. We'll have to do this again. I mean, this is just
thanks for hanging
hilarious. I've enjoyed it, and you're just a lot of fun. I knew it was going to be fun. I knew we were going to have a great time, but now I guess it's time to head over to the mothership that we all orbit around, which is Rob. Because thank God for Rob, because if it wasn't for Rob, we would have not all connected and meet.
I know he really did bring a lot of people together. I don't know if he's even aware of all that, but I always watch your shows, like whenever you're on there. Both me and Anora are always like, oh, it's Missy, okay, we'll watch. So definitely you have a little fan club that's like growing, and I swear to God, like we literally
I had a show years ago on Blog Talk Radio. I didn't even have to show my face, and I had in the thousands, but it just because I'm not the technical person, I don't know what happened to most of those shows, and a lot of those people aren't even alive anymore that I interviewed, which is sad, but
you have to start a new era.
Yeah, it's a new. But anyway, let everybody know how they can find you.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm at Remember Your Mission on everything. RememberYourMission.com. Remember Your Mission on YouTube. which is a bit of a dying channel. You can find me also at End Times Madness on YouTube.
That's your dark side channel, huh?
It's really just the silly part of me that doesn't really care anymore. The older I get, the less I care about being judged. So I'm just using the second channel as that. But that said, I keep saying we're going to do a live, and I keep forgetting to do it, or something happens. So I'm going to return to the original channel very soon. And so, yeah, we're at Remember Your Mission, End Times Madness. The best way to support me, if you choose to do so, is through Patreon at Blue Flame Collective, or you can go to Remember Your Mission on Patreon. We do 2 groups a month. One is readings for everybody that shows up, and the other one is a dedicated energy clearing meditation. This is our 6th year of regular, like, it's been going and going. So that's the best way to find us. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for inviting me. I had a genuinely good time talking with you. So
yeah, and you guys can find me at Hill Night Vision, HILL Night, NITE Vision, VISION at gmail.com. If you want to send me a donation, I'll welcome it, just for the expenses of what it takes to do this. But even more so than me, send it to Rob. He really needs
it. For real. There you go.
You know. So, and I guess that's a wrap, and we'll head over there and we will do this again. Everybody, cool. Bye for now.
Thank you.